We are live with the Summer Sprint 1990 season draft recap, season preview. We'll have Butch joining us in just a moment here, and we'll be underway. Until Butch joins, we just had a new link here and make sure Butch has it. Going to send Butch a quick message here. Butch, where is he? Butch. Okay. Good draft, almost done. 3 picks. Looks like 3 picks left if the math is right here, and there's a lot of math, so hopefully this is accurate as of now. Ron got the first draw, first pick overall. Ron was on vacation. Thank you, Ron, for stepping out of that and making your pick. And there's Butch.
Here we are.
Here we are. All right, so we're talking about Ron's pick, New Orleans linebackers, and it's a risky pick. There are nine DBs that will give you good.
Yep.
And Ron did end up with good by getting the 9th DB, but it was close.
Yeah.
He got the 9th, the last chance. Houston wide receivers taken by Jason there in the second round, which I would say he probably could have got him coming back the other way.
Yeah, I agree.
Could have taken it away from Ron. And that just goes back to, the coin flip that is that first pick and what you're going to get coming back. And then, does that make going linebacker the right choice? It worked out. So I guess it's hard to complain about it, Butch.
Yeah, Ron is defense first always. So, and he must have some pass rush with those linebackers, I'm sure too.
Oh yeah.
So that'll help him somewhat as well.
Definitely.
Houston in the second round, those wide receivers. I think if you look at that, there was no wide receiver group taken even, I think, within 2 or 3 rounds of that. I mean, they were the only ones on the board for quite a while. So I agree with you on that.
So could have Jason, who these are unofficial guys, and a good chance that these are wrong. It looks like Jason ended up with Poor. We'll be able to check when we get to Jason in a minute, make sure that's right. But that would have been prevented right there with the DB pick. Could have given himself average, or at least an upgrade, right? And also knocked Ron out of good.
Yep.
But Ron got saved, and quote unquote saved. What are you going to do, Ron? I mean, there's nothing you can do sitting at 1. You got to wait. You got to wait 30 some picks. That's the nature of the beast of being number 1. Now, I probably would have gone DB 1 because that would have locked in the good. You wouldn't have to worry about it. You could wait for your linebackers to whenever you wanted to go. Yeah. But it turned out the DBs didn't go until 7 with Lawrence with KC.
I don't think this is a great DB class. There's a couple really elite groups, and then there's a bunch of regular average guys.
And those two stood out.
I think I would have went DB first as well, just because there's only a few really good ones to grab.
So if you grab DB first, let's see, in a 4-3 combo, for example, you're guaranteed good. Yeah. 26 goods and 2 greats right there with KC, who would be my preference because I like the 2-6 corners.
Yep.
And then Pitt, the same, 26 and 2. So you lock in good straight from the get-go. Of course, Pitt doesn't have the 2-6 corners, but they give you Woodson's return. That's the yin and the yang there. Right. Take your pick, dealer's choice as far as that goes. But worked out for Ron. Aiden goes with the Minnesota DL, and that's a strong line. But if you want to do the pros and cons to all this,
again, the DBs are sitting there.
DBs are sitting there. Hey, Lawrence.
Hey, how's it?
How are you? Where are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Hey,
Where are you?
I'm actually driving home. I just saw that thing pop up on Slack, and so I'm just trying to get on while I'm driving.
Driving.
Cool.
Okay. What's that beautiful blue that we see in the background there?
you got to remember, that guy lives in paradise, man.
He sure
you got to
does.
remember that.
But how does the sky look like the ocean? I'm confused. But
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. Well, it's like a little. It's weird. It's like a little foggy, and the weather is strange. Like it could be raining in Kona, and then on the way home to Waimea, it could like totally clear up and be sunny, and then it could be foggy. The weather's like a whole mishmash of stuff across the island.
Well, we're jealous. Put it that way.
Yep, very much.
So with the Minnesota defensive line, and of course, I'd be very glad to have them. Most of us would. The issue I have with them is 2 4s you have to deal with on that line. And most likely falling into a 4-3, right? Which is not the end of the world, not the end of the world by any stretch. But when you're dealing with premium picks at the very top of the draft, those are the 2 reasons why I would hesitate taking them there.
Right.
With New Orleans off the board, the DBs were still there. Butch, as you mentioned, and Moon, who's obviously a standout, is there as well. I probably wouldn't have gone Moon. I would have gone DB again. If I had to, and somebody picked KC or Pitt ahead of me, I'd have taken the other one.
I agree, just because of the long gap until your next pick.
Yep. Lock in that good. Third pick, Houston. It's interesting set. When we declare our seasons, one thing I like to do is, especially around this time period, is just go back and watch the NFL prime times.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom Jackson, Chris Berman, all that. Pete Axtell was still there, hadn't died yet, thankfully, in 1990. I think he passed away that summer. And you should see all the fumbles. I mean, there was just every highlight. It's just fumble after another.
Yeah.
And that's the downside of Moon is his 11 snap fumble.
Yeah. Well, I got 11 on my team too. So,
but you didn't pick number 3. You picked 10th round.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of snap fumbles in this set as well. It's a weird year. I mean, I really thought it was a weird year. So it's going to be interesting play. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
Ed Moon is 3rd overall in these ratings. I don't pick based on these ratings. They're just sort of guides. Okay. Clearly the best passer, pure passer in the set. Take away interceptions. No doubt about that, number 1. And nobody was really close. I think we all know that. Moon is, I would say, let's see who the number 2 passer is, Kelly. Big drop off.
Yeah.
Not number 2 is Kelly, which was a massive drop off, and the rating reflects that. Moon might be the only one where you can run a pass first offense.
Yeah.
This set reminds me of we played 88, right, a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And very similar, I think, in the makeup, where the majority of us with no dump off, with no flat pass, 6 to rely on, the majority of us are going to have to run to set up the pass.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
I agree.
Moon gives you the luxury of not having to deal with that. But he comes with his downsides. He's not as good as, I don't know, who was the best QB in that set? Everett, maybe? I forget.
Long pass, probably Everett.
Mm-hmm. In 88, I'm saying. Right?
Oh, in 88, yeah.
There was a few that didn't, I don't recall having this kind of downside. He's 58th ranked in fumbles overall.
Yeah.
And that ranking is based, everybody looks at rankings differently. I look at it with consider a combination of snap fumble, team fumble, and fumble guessed wrong running, okay, which gets the smallest percentage of the mix. But 11.1 at number 3. That's tough pill to swallow.
That era, to me, is a tough year to play pass first. It just is.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of pass rush. I mean, and, we're going to get into that as we go along. But, keeping Moon on his feet is going to be difficult, I think. I don't remember what O-line he got. But
he got, I'm just going over to Moon's card here as I open up the 90 cards. Dun, 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 dun. We'll get that going. Houston. And we can all be envious of this card. He could even run a little bit.
Yep.
So, one thing he doesn't give you is a flat pass column that's going to that you're going to lean on. You're not going to lean on that. But short and long, I mean, there's nothing.
Yep.
Nothing coming close.
Yeah.
Let's see. He's I assume number one, short and long. Let's see. Short number one, long pass number one, flat pass 17th in the set.
Yeah.
And you asked about the line.
I can't remember who he got.
He went down to Detroit. So Detroit, and that was the DENOL for Bob, was the 15th taken, 7th round selection. Which there was a bunch that they sort of they were spread throughout. I mean, obviously there's a run in the 4th round, and then they started going sporadically. Let's take a look at their pass blocking. Detroit's pass blocking here. Detroit gives you 12 pass points. Can that be right?
Wow. You'd have to have a lot of zeros on that line.
Yeah. Willie, welcome aboard. How are you doing, Willie? Talking about the Detroit offensive line, and I don't know if anybody has access because I can only move around so fast just to verify that Detroit was the pick. Maybe you get into these DEN abbreviations, and I'm a good chance I screwed it up. But if that's true, left tackle 4, left guard 2, center 2, right guard 0, right tackle 4.
Wow.
Which ranked 18th in total points. Nobody has access. I can try to look for.
I'm looking at the
draft recap.
No, I'm looking at. I'm not sure who he got. Yeah, but I'm looking at the Detroit O-Line, and they are bad.
Would have been in the 7th round. So I'm going to go up on Dennis's.
Well, the only other options would be Denver. I don't think it would be Dallas.
Let's see if we got this right. Yeah, Detroit O-Line is correct.
Wow. I'm looking at them with 4, 8, 12 pass points. That's what I see.
Paired with the Tampa fullbacks. Don't know if there's any blocking back there to help out or not. So if you're gonna rely on the pass, and he doesn't have much of a flat pass.
If you got blitzing linebackers, you could have some success.
Derek Fenner's going to have a hell of a year.
yeah. That's the only good thing I do. It'll set him up for the run.
Yeah. So. Without the pop, though. I mean, Fenner's a good back. I like Fenner. Considered him. I'm sure we all did. If you were picking halfbacks late, but we'll go team by team shortly. The 4th pick was Jason with Steve Young, and paired it up quickly with the Houston wide receivers. And look, in 88, I did a little bit of this, and we'll talk about it. I picked Miami O-Line. It's my first time playing with you guys, and the only time I haven't made the playoffs, by the way. And what did I do? I went Miami O-Line, paired him with a must-run quarterback of Cunningham, and picked the Houston wide receivers. So I understand. Okay. I understand the thought here, which is you're not going to let your opponent go guest run and take away your must runs, because you'll punish them with the receivers if your opponent does that, right? I get it. Didn't work for me, but Young is better than Cunningham from 88. That's for sure.
You think he'll start Young over Montana?
Oh, that's a good question too, right? Montana is not much better.
He's a flat monster. I mean, usually.
Yeah, usually, but he's got that 6 blank. There it is. his card without those INTs, if
Yeah.
is down in the Kelly Elway Everett conversation, right?
Right.
And I would put him below all those guys
Yeah, I agree.
because
He
of the
doesn't have
INTs.
he can't go deep very well.
Yep. I mean, not bad. I mean, good for him. I mean, probably I don't remember all of his cards, but probably one of his better long pass columns. 5 and 9 guessed right. His must run gets him some yards, but that 2 through 8, 12 interception looms there on 10. Ouch.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even a flat pass on 10, 2 through 4. INT guessed right on 10 is that's you're gonna hit that. So I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine you're going to go with Young. Why Young? Well, looking Young, I had ranked as the best quarterback overall. Again, doesn't mean I take him there, please. But 15th best passer, and then in all the intangibles, he was the best. And you put all the intangibles together, meaning interception, running, excluding must runs. Must runs get built into the pass, and fumbles. He ended up as number 1. He has a 1.0 snap fumble. Of course, the team fumble, which Montana has 2 of 1, and a fumble guess wrong of 3. So just a mint fumble guy. The one thing I don't like about Steve Young is just one end run.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot. He just, I mean, it's good. The one he has is good, but he doesn't have many.
Yep. That annoyed me. And all those end run chances are not updated there, by the way, but his is. It is just one. I know that for sure. You look at his card. Pulling up Stevie Young here. His obvious weakness is deep.
Yeah.
But he's not going to hurt you.
No.
And
he's going to get those must run. He'll be running around all over the place.
And you can see why he paired him with good receivers.
Yep.
Still, I would argue took him around too early. Should have grabbed DBs there, in my humble opinion. But look at that end run column. You get one, enjoy it.
Yeah. He better time it well. And you know what? If I had the San Francisco quarterbacks, I might play them situationally. Start Montana, bring in Young when you think you need him, or vice versa.
Yep.
He can do all kinds of stuff with them.
Yep. He'll get you 9 yards on 7, just a great must run. And that end run wrong is lethal. I mean, we're talking 17, 18, 19, 25 yards. I mean, it just goes on and on. If you're 3rd and goal from the 17 because you just got sacked, right? Okay. I mean, that's the time to play. You're not going to run it 3rd and goal from the 6. You save it. Save it until you get 3rd and goal from the 15.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the must run guys. Love those must run guys at the goal line.
Well, and I know I thought Cunningham went. I was hoping Cunningham would drop to me, but he went early too. But again, the running quarterbacks, I think that's a big difference.
Well, I don't. At the end of the day, I don't mind this pick at all. I would if I'm gonna credit. I probably had him going later, but still, he's not going to hurt you.
No.
The thing I'm concerned about with Moon is that the lack of flat pass and the fumble. I would take him on my team in a minute. Don't get me wrong, versus who I have, but at number 3, and then Young at 4, and then Greg goes Buffalo linebacker, which I'm much more comfortable with Buffalo, New Orleans right in here, because you're almost guaranteed one of those DBs coming back to you.
Right.
Just like New Orleans.
Especially since none of them are off the board yet.
Yeah, exactly. Just like New Orleans, 9 chances for good. So you're not losing anything versus the number 1 pick in Ron if you're Greg, and you get him at 5. So by definition, a good value. Again, Ron, in my opinion, is stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's not a knock on Ron there at all. you're a victim of being number one and having to deal with 35 picks ahead of you or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, whoever you take at number one, somebody's going to have an opinion on. I mean, it's just the way it is, and you're not going to be right in everybody's eyes. So
6 was Brian. Sorry, go ahead, Butch.
No, that's okay. Good.
6 Brian, and he goes with Bo. So obviously, all of us spent a lot of time looking at that card, and all of us were awed by it, as we should be.
Right.
And all of us were also hesitating the downside of carries,
right,
and Marcus Allen not being enough of a threat to go with him. So there's Bo's card, but I think just as important as Allen's, because you've got 14 precious carries with Bo.
Yeah, not too many.
So most of us who have a guy like that, and I have one sort of like that, 14 carries, who's much better than everybody else I have. And mine is Craig Hayward. Most of us will try to save those carries for the second half. Keep it close, and then no different than Dennis did with Mostert, right, in Battle Royale.
Right.
So is Allen going to keep you in the game in the first half? Not a bad card. Definitely not a bad card. But is it enough? Especially at this pick, right? Is it enough? And then you can have Bo run wild in a second, and he will do damage. I mean, no doubt about it, he'll do damage.
Yeah.
And then you also, one of the luxuries of this set are the fullbacks. So you can find carries there. He went with Pittsburgh, and we'll dive into the team later, but it has to be some thought around the first pick is, all right, if I'm going to go Bo, I'm gonna have to pick up some carries at fullback too.
Right.
And Pittsburgh with Hodge gives you a nice back again, but he's very much I'd say very much like a Marcus Allen with a little less explosion.
Right.
He doesn't have the short gains across the board on 10. Again, not a bad card, but it's going to have to sustain him in the first half.
Right. Got to have a backup plan.
I'm a broken record. I'm taking the DBs here. All of these picks, I'm taking the DBs. That's me. And then Lawrence, you, in my view, just had an incredible pick here. Your choice of KC or Pittsburgh. To me, the two gems of the draft. Why KC, not Pittsburgh, Lawrence? If you can hear us, Lawrence. I can answer Lawrence's question probably, so can you, Butch, which is the two 6 corners.
You love those 6 corners, man. I mean, those are nice.
Yep. So that's, in my opinion, a no-brainer. Willie goes with Thurman Thomas. The second half back off the board. Willie, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Please, what were you thinking with Thurman?
Well, initially I wanted Kansas City's defensive backs, but obviously they went before I had a chance to pick. So I looked at Barry Sanders, and I didn't like his card that much, to be honest with you. And he was a one-horse pony. There was not another running back there that I liked to go with him. So to me, the next best set of running backs was Thurman Thomas and a couple of the other guys that he had in there. So I went in that direction instead of going with the Pittsburgh defensive backs, because my plan down the line was to do what you saw later and grab Deion Sanders to help me out with the backfield later on, which actually worked out. So that was the gist of it. Go ahead, you guys come in.
Well, I've never seen a card constructed, and somebody correct me because I don't deal too much in the historical teams. I should more. I've never seen a card more constructed for a 3 wide receiver offense than Thurman's.
Because that's exactly my thinking.
Yep.
This guy I can put in, I'll put him out. He's such a good receiver that I can put him up front him either way.
Yep. I mean, you had 2 straight up run and shoot offenses, right? This year, you had Detroit that ran 4 wide all year long. You had Houston that ran 4 wide all year long, and then you had Buffalo that went this sort of fun and gun, they call it, right? So, and they were at least 3 with McKellar. None of those backs, including Barry, got this treatment. Guessed right. Your opponent Willie, has no reason from down to down, right? On average, down to down. I shouldn't say no reason. Has less reason to guess run than just about any other team, and was by design by Strat, and I think it makes perfect sense. You look at this: it'd be +4, +4, 0, 0, +6, +6 at the linebacker, +2, +2. But guess wrong doesn't matter. Long gains, right, wrong, right? Of course, there's differences there, but less differences than any card I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
which is a beautiful thing. I thought maybe I'd have a shot at him later in the round, so I sort of did some practice games with Thurman. I just love running with him. Because I played a couple of guys in the league with them, and they were either keying them, right? They were either keying them because then you can make a difference, or they were guessing pass. Those are the two things that happen, and that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
you're not getting much from just guessing run.
And look at his backup.
Yes. Beautiful, Kenneth Davis.
Davis.
Yeah, there's your short game pop right there.
Yeah.
And he'll get you those 15, 10, 11 carries a game.
So that's what geared me towards taking him.
Yep.
Taking those guys because I didn't think they were coming back anyway.
Tim went with the Giants linebackers, and obviously a step down from the top two. Sort of let's take a look here. You were the next linebacker, Butch, with Indy, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. And he was getting in a 3-4. He was getting 13.75 run points. Yeah. So there was definitely a break point where the Giants are sort of sitting on an island with the two guys above them, then in a class by themselves in the second layer, and then everybody else under.
Yeah.
And
I kind of took advantage of Dennis's mistake on the sheet, though, because one of the linebackers for Indy was, I think, put as a 1, but he was actually an 11. So I was banking that other people didn't see that. So,
Yep, makes sense. From Tim's perspective, it's sort of locked in. You're not going to go poor with the Giants D. It's sort of a different. It's going to be very difficult to go poor. Put it that way. Different situation if you're picking 1 than picking 9, right? You have chances for good. They're going to pop up. You're going to make those decisions. 9, I think, is the toughest spot in all the draft, roughly 9, 10, typically, because you have to weight so many picks on either side of you. You can't pair up anybody. You can barely do any planning about who's going to pick what, and it's almost impossible. So when you go with the Giants linebackers, I think it's a very smart and safe pick. Because you're minimizing the damage that can happen to you when you have 18 picks before it comes back to you, and then you got to wait again, and there's another 16. So that pick made sense to me. However, you had Pittsburgh sitting there, so I would have taken Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh was sitting there. Otherwise, that pick makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I would have gone with Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, sorry I lost you earlier when you were asking about why did I take KC over Pittsburgh, and I was thinking about Pittsburgh with Rod Woodson factor, but the problem is that I just love having both corners be a 6, and I'm not as concerned about covering a 6 for the tight end with the strong safety, especially with this set. There's not really that much explosion at tight end position.
Yes, very true. Not much explosion at all. Agree. And KC versus Pitt. Tell me about, I forget now. Tell me about your extra DBs here in that situation. With KC, you're getting an extra 4. With Pitt, you're getting a dime as well, who's a 4. And I guess for some that might be the separator. For me, I'm with you. I like 2 6s. I don't want that 4 at left corner. If he's a 5. Right. If you trade the strong safety point, give me a point, make the strong safety a 5 in the left corner a 5 on Pittsburgh, then I'm starting to get to indifference. And it could tilt either way because of that. You get 2 dime DBs, which come in handy. But I agree with you, Lawrence. I certainly agree. And from Joe's perspective, at number 10, I'm just jumping for joy for Pittsburgh to have Pittsburgh on my squad at 10. Best pick of the first round, in my opinion. Set them up, and we'll talk about the teams individually later. But boy, just set them up so nice. I really, really think Joe's got a very strong team, and it started with that Pittsburgh pick. I can't imagine he thought Pittsburgh would be for him at 10. Philly QB from Bryant. Randall. Let's see where Randall wound up here. Randall wound up in these little ratings at number 2. Very strong passer at 5 overall, and that includes its must runs in there as well. And 4 in the non-passing stuff, meaning INTs and runs and fumbles, which get a lot less weight. But his card is an upgrade versus the one I took in 1988. That's for sure. He can just flat out pass better, but he has his weaknesses. That weakness, glaring weakness, is this flat pass. Incomplete 7, wrong and right. Throw an incompletion on 4 as well. His must runs 6 on 7. Young has 9. Young wasn't there. End run not quite as strong, but I believe he has 4 of them. He has 4 end runs. So that will certainly come in handy. You'd like a little stronger must run card here, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't, right? You think he'd be a little more bananas on his must run than he is. But when it's all said and done, you do the math and you add in those must runs as completions and the average yards, it pushes him up to be the number 2 passer in the set.
Just look at his guest right column of short and long, and that's the scary part.
Yep.
That's just scary.
And what's nice about him, what Steve Young does not have, is if you're guessing wrong, you're gonna get damage here. He'll do some damage. Completions, nice completions on short, guessed wrong. Nice completions on long, guessed wrong. 2 through 6, 8. Very low INTs across the board. Not going to hurt you there. As far as fumbling goes, comparing that to the likes of Moon, he's right up at the top. I sort of capped the value on fumble, so he's tied for number 1. But he has a 1 snap fumble, 2 team fumble, okay, versus Young's 1. And again, min fumbles on the running, which is really, really nice to have, as much as he's going to run. So it's hard to argue with that pick. Makes sense. You figure you're going to be giving up on the 20 DBs. The question in Brian's mind would be, okay, well, what QB am I going to get back coming the other way? It turns out he could have gotten Everett coming back the other way. Okay. So I don't think any of us thought Everett would drop as far as he did. If he knew that, you might end up taking a DB right now and coming back with the QB. Because Brian, based on my very unofficial ratings, ended up with a poor pass D. Michael Stucci, be nice if he joined. There's John and Lawrence. Hey, John. Hey, Lawrence.
What's happening, guys?
How you doing?
Pretty good.
We're one away from your first round pick here. We're on Michael. We can hear you talking about Cincinnati halfbacks. So 3rd off the board was Cincy. Taken ahead of John, your pick, Barry Sanders. John, if you would have had the pick between the two, who would you taken?
Still would have took Barry Sanders.
Do you remember why at this point? It's been a while.
I just like the 4s and 9s of short gains. Mm-hmm. It's right or wrong. So, and he's got a great receiving card too for halfback. And there's plenty of carries.
Brooks, you get the advantage of having Harold Green with him.
Yep.
And you can see just not as much short gainage throughout the card on Brooks. Lovely card though. guessed
No,
right.
it's not knocking Brooks at all. Brooks is good.
Yeah, and I think he brings you some blocking. Yep, nice. He's a 5'4" blocker. That does not hurt. And then you get the Harold Green effect. His 10+ carries will get you some short gains,
Right,
on a change of pace. And that's the one thing Barry didn't have was a running pair, but you did pick up James Wilder with him, who gives you blocking, and he can play fullback.
And I got Tony Page too, so I'm good. I'm in good shape for the Dolphins.
So, the runners going as early as they did. We had how many in the first round? We ended up with 5 in the first round. Is that right? Yeah, 5 was a little bit more than I thought was going to happen.
Not gonna lie, I really wanted Bo Jackson. Just because I wanted this car, I thought it'd be fun to play with him. That's all. You don't have many.
Yeah, massive fun factor there.
Yeah.
Michael will end up, I think, average. So that's not a bad place to be when you go offense. We'll get to his team shortly. Then, of course, you, John, you went to Troy. Any more thoughts on Sanders in that pick?
Nope.
Who else were you thinking of there? You knew you had Barry, or were you thinking and
well, I
wanted
wanted Barry or Bo, so I figured I'd get one or the other.
Dennis,
I was surprised he was still there.
Then Dennis had the KC D line fall to him. It's hard to fault that pick when you have the value of 3-4, which all of us give it a little bit of a premium. And you've got 5-6-5. There was another 16 out there, Philly, but I think we all recognize the difference is that you get a 6 nose tackle in KC. That's a huge bonus, and you get an upgrade in pass rush 22, which was up in that top quarter of the league. Hard to pass up on the KC line. I really cannot argue with that pick at all. Ended up with good run as he should. So that pick makes sense to me. Ken surprised me here with the Jets, but obviously great card. So it's like if Blair Thomas Freeman.
Yep.
Let's take a look at Blair Thomas's card, and I for one don't remember Blair Thomas being this good ever. I for some reason, and I was really paying attention to the league. I mean, and I think, and I'm not a Jets fan or anything. Maybe some of you guys are, but Blair Thomas, I just think bust, and I can't think of any good parts. I just think of blown out knees is all I think about.
Yeah.
Look at that card. I mean, that's a beautiful card. You should like a little more guessed right, but guessed wrong monster. And 6s across the board.
Yep.
Pairing that with McNeil and 7s.
You got to keep in mind that Kenny is a big New York fan. Let it be the Jets or the Giants.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So he also got Johnny Hector on top of that.
Yep. And there he is. Took him out of the fullbacks, which would have been a really good group if Hector were in there with the other guy whose name escapes me. But Hector gives you carries too. The only fault with the Jets is the guest right running. The guest right running is not in the same class as those that went before. But guess wrong, you'll do well. Paired him with the Atlanta quarterback, that might be problematic. I don't know how many guest wrongs you're going to get, but he'll punish you with the San Francisco wide receivers. We'll come back to that. But you went Raiders at 16, pass rush galore. Thought?
Yep. Well, I was hoping for Randall. And when Pittsburgh was dropping, I thought there might have been a chance, but that was really unrealistic. So I decided I'm just going to go pass rush. So I figured I could pair the Oakland line with the Indy linebackers and have a pretty good pass rush working.
Yep.
Only thing it does is it locks me into a 4-3. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. Who else was I thinking about? All the guys I was really thinking about were gone. I didn't. The DBs, like I said, the DBs I don't think were that deep in this draft. So I decided just to go with the Oakland pass rush. I thought for a moment about Everett,
Mhm.
but for a moment, like I said, I think I thought I'd go D and see what I could do. There was a lot of mediocre quarterbacks, and I think I got one in the last round. So
Vincenzo.
I'm sorry.
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo, yeah. If you look at his card, it's not a horrible card if he throws it to the right team. So that's what we're going to try to do. And then I loaded up on running backs, not so much with my halfback pick, but I picked up running backs and the kick returners. Running back, I got Metcalf with the wide receivers who plays running back and split end as well. So hopefully I'm going to have a decent attack, but we'll see.
So
You know that Vinny is colorblind, right?
I know that's why he throws it. That's why they wore the orange jerseys for so long in Tampa.
Yeah, you have to wear different color helmets. Pink or
At this point, there were 4 20 DB level groups out there.
I know, but none of them
And,
really
you know,
rocked
but-
my world.
Yeah, but you were locked into one coming back the other way, and
Yep.
if you wanted it,
Yep.
and you went Indy. We'll come back to your team overall shortly. Dennis goes Chicago. He was hemming and hawing between Chicago and Minnesota. I was gonna take whoever he wasn't going to take there. And I was rooting for Minnesota for just my own reasons. Thankfully, it turned out that way, and I understand why he grabbed them there. I mean, the DBs are kind of a have versus have not situation, I think, in this draft. I mean, I think different than quarterbacks, different than runners. So many runners out there because of the existence of the fat fullbacks
Right.
as they were. So many different ways to piece together a running game. That's why I was surprised the halfbacks went as many as I did in the first round, because most anybody could piece together a decent running game.
Right.
But you couldn't piece together 6 corners. They weren't going to just materialize out of nowhere.
That's true.
So Dennis goes DBs. I end up with Elway. I was choosing between Elway, Kelly, and Everett, and went back and forth. Could have kind of a coin flip among them. Ultimately chose Elway because of his flat pass edge and because of the must run opportunities to sort of adding to his completion short pass right, and less interceptions than Everett. Everett's going to frustrate with some picks. Overall, though, I don't think it was a good pick. I'm really not happy with that pick. I think it was the wrong pick when it's all said and done. And the reason it's the wrong pick is because Ron ends up with Jim Harbaugh in the 7th round. That's why it's the wrong pick. If I knew I could get Harbaugh in the 6th or something, if I knew that going in, there's no way I would have taken Elway there. I would have waited on the QB. I at this point, I wish I went more D. I wish I went more defense with that pick. I think it's just flat out the wrong pick. I thought Minnesota was the right pick, coming right back after it, but Elway, I like Elway among the other guys that are there. You guys can pick or choose. You like long pass, Everett, blah blah blah. But QBs right there, first round, that spot. Nope, not with Dennis getting Pete in 6 and Ron getting Harbaugh in 7. 2 very, very respectable passers as far as I'm concerned. So that's the first round. Let's go team by team. Ron. So the good about Ron is that Chicago value there. I love Harbaugh in the 7th round. I think Harbaugh is just a fantastic pick there. He brings a lot of intangibles. He's not going to fumble. He's not going to throw picks. So he's really just not going to hurt you. He can throw short pretty well. He's obviously not in the class of the guys ahead of him, but for a 7th round quarterback with all the other things ahead of him, I love him. I love him in 7.
I don't particularly like him, Anthony, mainly because he can't throw deep. If you get behind, you're going to have some problems. And this is what I don't like about Harbaugh in this. Yeah. I appreciate the fact that he can throw a flat pass. It will give you a consistent passing game. But if you get behind, you're going to have to really, really work to get caught up. That's my only issue.
Yeah, it's it's a league where their run sets up the pass.
Yep.
And if you end up having to go pass first, I don't know. There's just not many quarterbacks that are going to, outside of Moon, if he doesn't fumble. There's nobody that I'm going to count on with 2 minutes left, starting at my own 15, that's going to get me 7 points. I mean, there's just not many of them out there. There was one. Elway, Kelly, Everett, blanks all over the place. Blanks all over the place in that group.
Yep.
So, I'm with you. I agree. Then again, he went
late.
13th. Yeah, 13th is the 13th quarterback, and everything else you can do with your team above that. I agree with your point. Just that it's just not a pass first. But anybody who has to pass first is kind of in trouble. New England defense scored him good. So nice pick right there in the 5th round. His runners, Neal and the Giants fullbacks. I thought the Giants fullbacks were an interesting pick there.
I think he wanted Mark Bavaro.
One of Bavaro, right. And just going to rely on Neal. Neal is a solid Neal card. He certainly had a better card in 88, much more explosive, but it's solid. Just a solid back. Get your carries, get your blocking. He can catch. Can kind of do it all. But you end up with the Chicago battery, right? So Harbaugh and Neal, not an offense that knocked the cover off the ball, and pairing that with the Denver O-line. But good with an offense that, to Willie's point, is kind of a step behind. Any thoughts on Ron?
Ron likes it. He likes his defense. He's going to try to win with D.
Yep.
So
Eden was the first to get good when he took the San Diego linebackers in the 3rd round. So defense immediately yielded him good. Then he had to go out and build an offense. But he made a good pick in grabbing an O-line. It was at the tail end of a run, unfortunately. Not much you're going to do about that when you're sitting at number 2. The Avalanche, Miami was taken early in the 2nd, but the Avalanche really started at the end of the 3rd with the Rams, and then Dennis took one. So I took one, Dennis took one, Butch took one, Ken took one. So really 4 out of 4 picks there went O-line, because I sort of was picking 2. And then 3 more went a little later, and then finally got to Aiden. He ends up with the 11th, unbelievably. At the beginning of that round, 1 was taken. By the time it got to him, he ended up with the 11th.
Yeah, that's how these drafts. That's how these drafts go, man. You get a run on something, and you got to hang on.
Probably the biggest run, right? O-line.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the last rounds are always a run on kickers, but that's just because everybody waits. So.
Right. And I understand why he took him there. Dave Craig at quarterback was an interesting selection. So Craig.
I thought so too. I thought there was better choices.
I like Pete better. I like Harbaugh better. And I like the Washington guys because there's 2 of them that are effective. Craig. Let's take a look at Craig's card. It's got some INT problems.
He's a flat guy. Yeah.
Flat guy. You can throw it all 3 levels, but you're getting into some dicey INT territory.
Yeah.
As you climb the ladder. 10, 2 through 8, plus an interception on 3 deep. That's and I think he fumbled 16 times during the year.
I know he's a fumbler. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's take a look at that. I had Craig. Where did I have Craig? There he is, right there. He, as far as his fumbles goes, was 26th in the league in fumbles. I don't think I have a snap fumble correct here, so it might even be worse because I really wasn't considering them since I took them early. I didn't do all the research down here, took QBs early. But as far as passer goes, he was ranked 14th in the set, 9th best in the flats, 28th best long. And that excludes the INTs. So pairing him up, Aiden is with Johnny Johnson and a yet to be named fullback. So he paid the price. No doubt he paid the price of going DDD. There's a price to be paid there. It's the cost. It's the price of entry of going DDD. Going to have to put together an offense. Johnny Johnson, those of us like me who are trying to piece together a running game, and you did that really well, Butch. Nothing flashy here.
Yep.
Good back, though. Good back, right? But
solid card, but yeah, nothing spectacular.
So you're facing Aiden, you're looking at Craig, and you're looking at Johnson.
It's okay.
You're probably gonna let Johnson run a little bit and try to hunt the interceptions. So Aiden's gonna have to put that punish you with the running game somehow, so people don't sit back on Craig's INTs. Any other thoughts on Aiden? Bob Squad, as we talked about. Go ahead, Butch, if you had something.
No, I'm good. All good.
So we talked about Bob Squad before. Went a little bit in depth that that Detroit offensive line that's 12 pass protection points.
Yeah,
going to have its work cut out for a short and long passer, which is Warren Moon. But he brings good D plus Warren Moon. On paper, that's a formula for success right there. The best way to stop a pass rush is to get him the guess run, and he's gonna have Fenner to try to do that. Let's see if Fenner is going to generate some run calls. Well,
if I'm putting 3 linebackers on the line, no, I'm not guessing run.
Yeah. Yep. And the Detroit line is not going to help out much in getting Fenner some extra yards. Let's take a look at their run blocking, which is certainly better than their pass blocking. 21 run block points. He's going to have a nice left side of the line here with a 6 left. So the weak side gives you a 6 left tackle and a 5 guard. So that's where he's going to be looking to pick up some extra yards, with Fenner probably running a lot of draws with Fenner to clear things out for that left side of the line.
How many carries did Fenner have? I don't recall.
I think he hit 200.
Oh, did he? Okay, he's full
so.
time.
Yeah, 215. Yep.
Okay.
So he's covered in the carries, and he's yet to pick fullback. Is that right? No, he picked Tampa. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at that set. I don't know that familiar with Tampa's fullbacks. Not much there in yards per carry, as we can see. 3.2 and 2.8, and we got 151 attempts out of Cobb. Reggie Cobb from Tennessee, if I recall correctly. And no, that's not. You're going to like that in the full house. You might give him the ball short. Try to find one of those guess right plus readings. But he's not going to be an added threat with Fenner. Fenner's going to have to shoulder the load in the left side of that Detroit line.
He did pick up Ron Hall, who's a 6 tight end. That might have been one of the reasons he went with Tampa. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Did he get 2 blocking tight ends or 1? Because 2 would be really nice. Let's see. So the other guy's a 4. So if you could put Hall on the left side, that gives you really nice blocking on the left side of the line. 6.56, right? So 6.65 out from out to in.
Yep.
And that would help a ton. But you don't want to take away. You got the got the Washington receivers here, really nice threat. Necessarily take those guys off the field. But you go too tight, one back, Fenner, and that might open up some holes along the left-hand side. Anything else on Bob? Bottom line, good, and Moon is a nice formula. You break down the details, it breaks down a little bit behind that offensive line, but you got to like that on paper. Jason, now we talked about the reason why he took Houston in the second round. We also talked about that he probably could have got him coming back the other way and picked up the Denver, Miami DBs or the Raiders DBs, which would have robbed Ron of his good defense. The Raiders were the last hope for Ron getting a good pass D. But instead, the wide receivers there in 2 to pair up and deter people from guessing run against Steve Young to avoid the must runs, because you're going to pay a price, guess wrong with this receiver crew. Makes sense. Understand it. Tampa gives them pass rush. So the answer of not having, and I've been here before, having a pass defense that's poor, but pairing it with incredible pass rush does materially improve your pass D. We get that. Take a look at these pass rushers. 39 out of the 3-4, including 12*1 at right inside linebacker. So a guiltless blitz. Absolutely guiltless. No price to pay when you're blitzing a 12 right inside linebacker. A beautiful thing.
So he got Tampa line and Tampa linebackers?
Let's go back here.
I'm sorry.
DL is Miami.
Oh, okay. I lost something in there, so no worries.
And, this could be wrong, but I believe it's Miami. And that gave him, on the run side, we think anyway, average on the run. So he's got some defensive problems, which can be neutralized by those Tampa
blitzes.
Yep. And San Francisco O-line, again, just like Aiden, caught it at the tail end, but understand why he took him there. You didn't. The O-line's had some break points. In total points, right there, 42. San Fran, assuming they went chalk above, you start to see that break point down. You get a pretty big drop to 39. So, getting above 20 in both run and pass makes sense to me. You got this problem, though, at left tackle. Left tackle is the priority position. There's more right ends. Look at this right end pass rush. Right end's where it's at. Left end's not. Therefore, your left tackle makes a pretty big difference. Got to put a premium on him. And that's the one thing he didn't get out of the San Fran O-line is a left tackle. But still, 20 and 22 overall. To protect Steve Young. Fullbacks of Minnesota, that's a sneaky little group. 87 carries and 59 carries. So Fenny has a nice little card. That's a nice little card.
Yeah, and he picked up Steve Jordan with him. So
yeah, Steve Jordan from
Minnesota
Brown University.
Oh, Brown, yeah.
Let's see, 59. Alfred Anderson. Alfred Anderson's not doing much. So Fenny's where it's at as far as getting carries. Jordan's good. I don't know how much Jordan's going to get on the field. What kind of offense is he going to run? Jordan is better than Curtis Duncan, right? Who's the 4th wide receiver from Houston. And by the way, Duncan can also play tight end if you feel like it for whatever reason. I mean, maybe you do that on the goal line and get him upgraded to a 4 run block and give you a threat out of your second tight end. That could be useful. To pair him with the other side being Jordan. But overall, just that KC would have a super solid team. Waited just a little bit on Houston.
Yeah.
But it should be interesting. Anytime you have that much pass rush, you can cause some real problems. The halfback selection has not come yet, right? Yeah, and that's going to be an issue. Fenny with who? Is that nearly enough? That's a conundrum right there. Greg went defense, put together very quickly a good pass D. Came back, got Buffalo, which was either the second to last or last opportunity for him to go good. So awesome pick there in the 5th to secure good. Pairing that with a very solid fullback group. Yeah, they have their downsides. Everybody does. They can't catch a lick. But you get Barry Word and you get Christian Okoye. So this is Word's year to shine. I think this is his career year. Started out with New Orleans? Didn't he get arrested or something? He had all sorts of a weird past. He was with New Orleans for a couple of years, and then I think he was out of the league a little bit. Came back with KC and just exploded in 1990. And that's a real card. That's gonna generate some run calls right there. That off tackle column is solid. The end run column is solid. All 3 columns solid. He can run it anywhere. Okoye had sort of a down year. Still gives you 245 carries, but you see he's a plodding guy. But as a compliment guy, he's a perfect second back to have. I mean, just fantastic second back to have. The issue with these two is you can't play them at the same time. Both rated pure fullback. Right.
And I don't think either one will be calling a double team anytime soon. So
that's right. Yeah. You're not gonna deter people from double teaming your Buffalo wide receivers with those guys back there. However, he comes back with Keith Byers. Yeah. And Keith Byers, you don't want him running too often with a fumble that'll knock your socks off, but Byers, Ohio State product, right? He runs okay, but he fumbles a ton. But there's your probably second, third best pass catcher among halfbacks out there.
Yep.
He will slow down some right outside linebackers from blitzing, no doubt about that, which is nice. And can catch the ball. So he's a very nice pair. He's sort of like the Todd McNair of the KC backfield, so to speak, with him. And he also gets Robert Drummond, only 8 carries, but a nice little card. Robert Drummond from my hometown, Syracuse University.
There you go.
Yeah, Hall of Fame Bowl MVP, 1988.
Well, see, we can go back. We can go back a little bit. I didn't want to mention this, but I played football in high school with Freeman McNeil. How's that?
How's that? You played on the same team, or you played against them?
On the same team, yeah. We banned Phineas Banning High School.
What did you play? Any role on defense?
No, I was a guard.
Oh, you lucky bastard! So if you would have told me you played D line and you had to tackle him every day,
I had to block for him. That was just as bad.
No, that's much better.
Also, I don't know if anybody knows this, but 4 years before that, Vince Ferragamo went to the same high school. So, alumni galore there.
Avoiding having to tackle him in practice 5 days a week, which was probably saved you a few years on your life. If I had,
it did that most definitely.
So Drummond's a nice little bonus. Probably not going to get too many carries given when I play with Philadelphia as a stock team. Drummond actually got a lot of carries, but he'll be crowded out here by the KC guys. So Greg is good, and you got Okoye, all those pieces in place, great receivers. McKellar, underrated tight end. He can do damage. Then you pair it with Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman is your high risk, high reward guy for among those picked here. If somebody would have taken Jeff George, then Jeff George would have gotten that award. But you got some interception issues here. But you have a 7 long gain on long pass.
I was hoping he'd make it later because that's who I had my eyes on. So.
And you wind up with Vinny, right?
I ended up with Vinny. I thought it was between Vinny and Jeff George when I made the pick. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I almost took Jeff George, by the way.
Yeah.
The last pick.
It's the high risk, high reward, just like Anthony said.
Exactly what I had in mind, but then I looked at the other quarterback that I took, and he seemed a little more consistent and less interceptions.
So, he's going to get some guests wrong. That's the good news. You've got the running to do it. And Willie's point, I think Willie, your point earlier carries on to most teams, right? If you're down 14 and you have Aikman, you just got to hit that. Got to roll 7. By the way, roll 1, 2, 3 on the white die too. By the way.
Yeah, I learned that lesson in spring fever with McCown. I could just throw flats all day long, but if I got behind, I was screwed. Was it who? I think it was Josh McCown. I had.
So Greg is lined up for a good season if Aikman can avoid the picks because he's got the D, he's got the runners. It's on Aikman's shoulders here, and he's gonna try to minimize his workload. He's gonna try to pick his spots. Not gonna come out guns a blazing. Very few of us are, obviously, right? With the it's a run first season, but a little bit more for Greg than most of us in having to emphasize run first. Brian, anything else on Greg? Got this right here to talk about if you want to. Last O-line.
The offensive line is offensive. Much like
the Cleveland O-line. Let's take a quick look. He's not going to. Those KC guys are not going to get any help. 8 points. Did he sneak in offensively? There's really no way. There's not many tricks and trinkets in this set. Willie took one with Dion. I did with New Orleans special teams. There's a Irving Fryer. Not many ways to sideways into sort of bolstering your groups, and I don't think he found a way to bolster this group. You got some issues there. No doubt. 5 left tackle pass block is the nicest thing you can say about the Cleveland offensive line. All right, moving to Brian. So Bo Jackson, 14 carries, I think, before first level fatigue. Paired up with Mikowski. Speaking of high risk, high reward. He's in a nicer class, right? He's in a different sort of level. And that's if you want to go with Mikowski at all. You have other options in this group. But let's start here with this card. He can run it nicely too. Must runs 14 yards through 6. And I'd like, I'd like Randall to have this must run. That would make me feel really, really good about Randall. Look at those guest run completions, short pass through the middle. Beautiful.
It's a great card if you have a strong running game because you can actually pick people apart.
Yep.
And in the second half, if he's in the ball game and Bo has carries, this is going to be a tough team to beat.
You put it away, yeah.
Yep. Ended up average on D. Minnesota wide receivers, a good group. A lot of wide receiver groups out there. So no issue there. Right in the pack. So no issue with that. Was still able to get average despite the DL going in the 10th round. Houston offensive line is a respectable group. Let's just take a look at if you have a lead. What Blair Keel will do for you. He'll throw in the flats. One of the better flat passers out there.
Yep.
Sorry.
I think he has a snap fumble to worry about, though. Let's take a quick peek at Blair Keel. Where is Keel in this? Okay, he ended up right there, a couple notches behind Aikman. He has the third best flat pass in the set. He has the 54th short pass and 62nd long pass, so I'm not going to do much there. Snap fumble of 7.2. Mikowski is a snap fumble of 4.8. So I don't know that you're going to bring him in to protect the lead and start throwing flat. It's not an atrocious snap fumble though. So maybe it doesn't deter you. I think he's an option. He'll get some snaps. Maybe short yardage specialist. Right, against the 4-3-D. Bring him in and threaten with the flats. Could be an option. Eric Green comes along with the and I wish Eric Green had a better card. I thought he had this is his rookie year, I believe. And I thought he had some really nice stats, but I thought he's undercarded. And that's why he went where he I think the draft position's fine, by the way, but I thought he'd have a better card than that. Good card, but not in the top tier. What were his stats? 34 catches. Okay, so not that many catches. Maybe he's carded just right. 11.4 average, seven touchdowns. So Bryant is an potentially explosive offense if he can avoid the INTs, get into the second half with carries for Bo and in the ball game. He'll have a good shot to pull him out. And all you got to do is get above 500. So that's not a bad squad. I wouldn't have taken Bo that early myself. I understand the fun value of it, but the limited carries are what knowing how many carries you need. If he gets in a position where Bo's down in carries and you got to rely on Marcus Allen, Mikowski's going to face a lot of guest pass. So that's the downside there. Lawrence, your squad. Washington QBs love that pick in the 9th round. Let's go there. Why Washington? Lawrence, if you can hear me.
Well, a couple different reasons. One, I had a poor offensive line, and so I needed to get somebody who can throw effectively the flat pass and the super low interception rate. And yet, if I need to go for a more offensive game, I could bring in Rippin for a high risk, high reward.
Yep.
So I felt like I could get what I needed between those two.
Even more than Harbaugh, this is why Elway was an awful pick for me in the first round. When I see where you got him, and then you got these guys in the 9th. All right, this is a very, very workable quarterback crew, Lawrence.
Thank you.
I think it's a great pick.
Yep.
Rutledge is 6th in intangibles, 29th in passing. Okay, fine, 28th, but 13th in flat passing, right? And to your point. And just as you said, to beat a dead horse here, he's got a 5.9 snap fumble, so elevated, but not horrible. Fumble run, you don't want to run with him though. Fumble run, he fumbles 25, so look out for that. Don't run line butts.
The thing I like too is that even though he doesn't have a great long pass, I could throw a long pass all day long without worrying about getting picked.
Yep.
For my LA wide receivers who, there's only 10 players that have a 50% long catch rate, and I have 2 of them.
Yep.
But because of my line, I couldn't afford to get a big thrower that didn't have a good flat pass. So
Rippin 13th in long passes. And there's no reason not to throw deep with Rutledge too. Totally agree. Love it. One of the steals of the draft, as far as I'm concerned. And then, oh, by the way, you're good with 2 6s on your corners and one of the halfback groups that I was coveting with Dickerson and Bentley. Talk about those guys and that pick there.
Well, I like, Dickerson, he's like, it was starting to get thin already once Neal was taken, but I like that he has a 0 fumble, especially if I want to run him later in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm going to probably use him as my 3rd running back, and then Bentley and My fullback, I forget what the fullback's name is.
You have a fullback group too. You have John L. Williams.
Yeah.
So,
So they both are 81, 62, and 20s. And then my tight end that I got with the LA wide receivers is also 81, 62, 20. So I have like a good flat pass potential, and even just for short pass, not too bad. And then, I've regretted kind of not being able to get a better offensive line, but I did get to Chicago, so I could at least run it pretty decently and run line bucks and off tackles and all that with the sixes there. So just to keep me going, and I felt like my team with the good and everything else, I wanted to be a little conservative, like say with the quarterback, and I feel like I'll at least be somewhat competitive, and I have like at least some chance to win some games.
At that point, looking at your New Orleans kicker, at that point you didn't have any choice for offensive line, so I understand that pick. No quarterbacks went. So the Atlanta quarterbacks went. So boy, that was a boon for you there. If Washington would have went there, you'd have a very different team. Right here with Ken in the 7th. If Washington would have went there, your team would look very, very different.
Yeah, I was kind of holding your breath on it,
Yep. But man, it paid off. We all have weaknesses. The O-line is your weakness, no doubt about it. But overall, I think to me, it's one of the best put together teams by far. All those receptions out of the backfield with Bentley and John L. Williams.
And then John L. Williams is 6'7" also. So
yes, he does it all, and he runs, as you said, he runs well too. So there's Bentley, just a beautiful, beautiful card. All these halfbacks. I think there might have been an exception or two have these very annoying big losses, huge losses, more than the modern set. We have losses on 3 and 11 in the modern set, but he's got big ones at -5, -4. Other than that, I mean, you're just picking here. It's a really, really nice card for Bentley, and then John L. There's his running. Very nice right running in particular. Also will move the chains slowly but surely. Wrong. And then there's the pass catching. So you can play Bentley if you feel like it, right? You can play Bentley at halfback, right? He's a running back, or is he just blocking?
Yeah, he's running back.
Yeah,
blocking back.
So you can go Bentley and John L. and frustrate the hell out of, let's say, any other blitzing linebacking core who would have.
Yeah, that's my plan. Yeah.
Yep. I envy your team. Want to trade?
Well, I'm glad I was able to scramble and do a decent job of it, because I didn't know we were doing the draft until I was up with my pick.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get the emails. I wasn't in that email group. And we've been like so busy around here that I put it out of my mind. And then Anthony texted me, and Dennis texted me around the same time saying, "Hey, you're up." And I had no idea, so I had to kind of scramble.
And you walk into the freaking KCDBs.
Yeah, that part was kind of easy. Yeah. But I didn't have time to like really, go through things carefully, before the draft's already getting going,
And it's nice to have Morton as your kicker. I love your team. Nice job. Any other comments on Lawrence? Now, Lawrence,
my only comment is that I didn't like a Bentley. I couldn't find a Ferrari, so I ended up taking a Thurman instead.
I really wanted the Tampa Bay defense in the third before the Indy, but the two linebackers who take right in front of me had already been filled, so I just had to worry about, I guess, Bryant or whatever, but he took them. It was the last shot. I thought I was going to get them, so I was a little disappointed.
Which ones? You lost me there.
Tampa Bay linebackers.
Yeah, they went well ahead. Oh, you mean coming back, right, instead of the Indy halfbacks, yep.
Yeah, so it went just because the other guys already had Buffalo and Green Bay, so it was Jason rather that took the Tampa Bay linebacker, and I was really hoping to get them, but
that would have been a beautiful. I mean, because Tampa Tampa linebackers are a great pass rush crew, but you're not going to get good. You're not going to get good unless you have Pitt or KC or my upgraded Minnesota squad, right? Which I have to have an extra pick to get there. You need 21 points on
I thought I would have a chance because I did have KC.
Yep.
So I thought I would be able to get good with Tampa.
Exactly.
So I was hoping that you would get him for that reason.
Exactly. So let's take a quick look there. So Tampa only had, without a boost, only had 2 chances at good, and you were one of them. With a boost, I think it went up to 5, meaning you picked up Deion Sanders or you picked up Gene Atkins of the Saints. So there was not many opportunities for that. Yeah, that would have been beautiful if you could have pulled it off. But nonetheless, not many complaints. I would say the main warning about your team is that we loved your team in Battle Royale too, Lawrence. So so
I'll blame the coaching on that one.
What's that?
I'll blame the coaching.
Mm-hmm. So Willie, talk about your team, please.
Well, why don't you talk about him, because you guys do such a good job picking him apart.
Well, that it's so many. You had a very fascinating draft. You might have the most fascinating draft out of anybody, and I think anybody who would have taken Deion was going to have a fascinating draft, right? The Deion, we have the boosted ratings here. I put these together because I thought I was going to be taking New Orleans, and I ended up taking them. So this little B here means boost, meaning this line, if you guys can see it, row 3 are if any DB group's got a boost, it shows up sort of right there. So when you boost with Deion, I mean, you got a lot of opportunities for good, but you still ended up average, right? You had to be thinking you have to find a way to get good there, but the cards just didn't fall. The picks just didn't fall the way you probably hoped, I imagine. As far as
pretty much. My thinking was it's going to be tough to get good because of how this draft was going. I figured everybody was going to go after the linebackers to boost their backfield. So my thought was, well, don't worry about that right now. Let's try to get Deion Sanders, who is a 5 corner, and trying to find a defense that I can fit him in. In Dallas, there were 2. I think one was Dallas and the other one was Cleveland. Neither one worked for me, but the difference is that Dallas has a 6 corner on the left corner, and then I add a 5 corner to it, which gives me a 6, a 5, and a 4 and a 4. And the tight ends in this set aren't that good. Better one. So that's pretty much what my plan was.
Yeah, the linebackers, you sort of locked in average, that's for sure, and you got a couple extra good chances. Yeah, as you say, Cleveland went from 16 to 18 because they had the corner zeros, and Dallas went from 17 to 19. Yeah. And Philly fullbacks in the second, following Thurman. There had to be a strategy behind that.
There was. When I look at the set, there were 2 tight end groups that to me were the better ones, which were San Francisco and Philadelphia. But the difference was that the fullback in Philly was a little bit better of a runner than one. So what I didn't want to end up is having people off by bringing a better runner in the fullback position. It allows me to kind of give him a little bit of a break in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the gist of it. I think Sherman is the one you're looking at. It's the one
Anthony Toney, I think, right? Was it Anthony Toney?
I think it was Sherman.
Was it Heath Sherman? Who's the best one? Sherman.
I think Heath Sherman.
Sherman. Yeah, Sherman's at 4.2. Yep, there you go.
If you look at the end run on him, he's pretty. So, and you look at the linebacker as well on the wrong side, and he helps you out too. So that's the reason why I ended up taking that kind of group, I guess. At that point, they were, to me, probably the top-rated unit for that particular area. So I figured I'll take him there. And I did not expect San Francisco to go later as well. Then Atlanta, you already told you about that. And then the offensive line started to go like bad. And my decision at that point was, do I take Dallas now and make sure that I get the 6 and the 5 corner, or do I take the offensive line now before they're all gone? And thank God I took the offensive line because they do have some decent pass blocking, and that's going to help the team quite a bit.
Yep, and it gave you average with the Dallas selection soon after, and then Denver. And to take your line and your linebacker that late and get average is actually a win. Pretty nice win.
Yeah, and the pass rush for Denver is actually pretty good. And the defensive line for Dallas is actually 2 5s up the middle, which gives me a 4-3. But it gives me a solid run up the middle. And then, if I recall correctly, the linebacker on the left side for Denver is a 12. And the one in Mecklenburg can be moved to right outside linebacker. So that gives you a 5, a 5, and a 0 on the right side. But both those linebackers can play pretty well.
Yep. Yeah, I think Mecklenburg's a 0, but he has a 10 pass rush. And if you do play him in the middle, it's a nice place to have a 10 pass rush.
Exactly.
Sure, you're not
gives you those options as well. I agree.
Yeah, you're not giving up coverage.
Yeah. And then, as you can see, I took the very last quarterback. I was the last guy picking a quarterback. And to me, I looked at Jeff George, as far as that goes. I look at Vinny as well. But if you look at, I don't know why your ratings are so low, but his rating in the NFL was 90, which isn't the top 6 quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And LA went 12-4 with him at quarterback. So that's got to give you a little bit of props there. And as you can see, he throws well as middle. So he's not the greatest on the flat. But you can get everything you want when you're drafting your quarterback last.
Yeah. I like Schrader. I thought Schrader would go earlier. I thought he'd go in the draft for sure. And I love his yard short pass. Give up a sack, no problem. Guessed right, 15, 16, 17 yards short pass.
Right.
And low INTs.
And the fact that I have a good blocking, that's going to help him out a lot. I don't necessarily have to go flat. I can go probably short and long with that kind of blocking. So that's going to help a little bit.
It would be nice if Jay Schrader came along with a free Bo Jackson, right? That would certainly help his.
That would be the ideal scenario, yeah. And then the last thing I'm missing here is a Chip Lowmiller, who is my kicker.
Mm-hmm.
I had him ranked in the top 4, so this is also the reason why I took him ahead of the quarterback, because I was seeing what was going on, and it looked like they were going to go pretty quickly. So to me, that was the guy to take at the time.
Yeah, I think he was ranked as the number. I had him ranked as the number 2 kicker. Yep, up there. Yep. Overall, when you count, the coverage and the kickoffs too.
Yeah, the kickoffs got a couple of touchbacks in his card, so really helpful. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. The surprise, I did not expect you to take Philly fullbacks there, right? And you have to understand that my orientation for the fullbacks was always running. I always knew that I was going to take halfbacks late, so I wasn't thinking along. I just didn't see a very good tight end group, and I was from the start, for whatever reason, I sort of had a bias towards thinking these fullbacks are this groups are more runners than they are catchers. But when you took Thurman, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to build a 3 wide receiver offense, which Thurman is sort of made for. But you have more options than that. You're certainly not stuck with that with the Philly fullbacks. You couldn't.
Yeah, see, like the way I looked at it, to be honest with you, one of the thoughts that I had was go 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and 1 receiver, because I have enough pass catching across to be able to flank him out if I have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by doing so, it gives me a little bit better blocking, and allows me the alternative to use one of the runners, those 2 guys that's running the ball or passing the ball. So these are thoughts that I had in my mind, and this is the reason why I wanted a good tight end, because there's no really good tight ends in this set except for those 2. Yeah. The other are pretty inconsistent.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on Willie's squad?
Yeah, I really like the Schrader thing too, and if I had a good offensive line, I would consider taking them. Although the problem is I end up having so many good flat pass receivers that would be kind of working against my strength. So I couldn't really consider him. But I'm curious, and I'd like to see how well he does this year, and I hope he does well. because I think it's a really fun card. It's such an explosive quarterback card, like you say, without any risk.
He brings you a high snap fumble, right? 12.8. That'll frustrate you from time to time. And you don't want to run with him because he has a 17 guess wrong fumble. But he's ranked very strong, 7th best short pass adjusted, 12th long pass. So, right in the mix. 54th, of course, flat pass, as you know. So, way down there. But short and long, he can throw that ball around the field. Classic Al Davis vertical thrower.
Yeah, just win, baby. So,
all right, Tim's squad. Talked about the Giants. This team is, from an offensive perspective, is going deep and then coming back with end runs with the Cincinnati fullbacks. I mean, that's the offensive dynamic, and that potentially is a winning dynamic because those Cincy fullbacks can run. He doesn't have really a good line up the middle, but you don't need a good line up the middle with this crew. Look at Icky's end run. Oh, the speed of Icky getting around the outside, right? And then you've got Craig Taylor. I don't know much about Craig Taylor, but other than his card here, which is really good. Again, all 3 levels can run. So Tim can punish you with these runs from these 2 guys who are both at sort of min carries, but you put them together, it's 20 carries. And then he's got Herschel along with him if he needs to gobble up some carries. That will generate, if done properly, that will generate run calls. And when you generate run calls with Jim Everett as your quarterback, there's gold to be mined, especially if you're throwing Sterling Sharp.
You asked why I took Philadelphia, my blocking backs or what have you. I was going to take Everett. Don't call him Chris Everett. But he was taken right before my pick. So I think in a different direction.
Yep. Everett is a little weak and short. And decent enough flat pass. It's decent. And the money's made deep. Just got to avoid the picks. The picks are not atrocious, though. Atrocious. They're a notch worse than Jim Kelly and Elway and that group there. But that 7 long gain, is what everybody's sort of after. And of course he has it. So get those Cincy fullbacks working and chuck it deep. On defense, took the last DB group. Ends up though with average because of those Giants, right? We talked about the value of locking in average, and he took full advantage of it. But that last DB group comes with some issues. You get Darrell Green at right corner, who's a 6. So your left corner is a 0. Let's take a look at the group here. Free safety is a 0. Okay.
Yeah.
Strong safety 4. Good run D with those linebackers, but a 4 at nose tackle. Okay. So there's definitely some issues. You get some pass rush from LT, obviously, and a little bit along Washington's defensive line. But this defense, in theory, can be picked apart. So he's going to have to. The great thing about defense, if you make good calls, you can cover up any issue. But up the gut with a 4 nose and weakness in the DB side, there's vulnerability on D for Tim. But I think he's got more offensive strength than defensive weaknesses.
Yeah, that's a pretty weak defense, to be honest with you. That's what I thought. Even with LT, who is awesome, but he's going to have some issues, especially trying to keep a lead. They're going to pick those quarterbacks apart.
Yep. And even just a 5 nose, just something in there to stop a lot of inside runners in this set. Okay, I mean that's for sure. I think we all noticed that. End runs. I mean, these Cincy guys are an exception, I would say. There's a lot of really good inside runners, and having a good nose tackle, like Dennis picked up with KCDL, picked up 6. That's it's important. So weakness up there, and like you say, You can pick apart these guys in the secondary. Any thoughts on Tim?
No.
Okay, moving on to Joe. Like this team too. Funny that I like Lawrence's team and Joe's team probably best, and one of them has the KC DBs, and the other one has the Pittsburgh DBs. Came back and got what I thought was the best pure running group. Take receiving, take blocking, take everything else off the board. I had San Diego as the best running group, ahead of LA, ahead of anybody. These are the guys, if I had to pick runners, this is the group I would want, the San Diego fullbacks. You get 265 carries out of Marion Butts.
Marion Big Butts.
Yeah. Well, he'll punish you, guess wrong. Just annihilate you, guess wrong. He will get the tough yards. Not going to catch very well, but he can go deep. That's nice, right? I mean, it's half the battle, going deep, especially there's not a cap on anybody's reception. So you catch him against a zero. He can, slip him out of there and go a long way. He can block a bit too, which is nice. Brings you a 4-pass block. But 265 carries in that card with those deep threats. Guessed wrong.
Wear you out.
What's that?
They'll wear you out.
Yep. And then you got Rod Bernstein. Maybe not 1988 Rod Bernstein, but still a nice card here. Right? Linebuck, guessed right. He can do business. 5 yards on 6. Of course, the short gains on 7. 2 yards on 9. So useful in short yardage and useful in other spots too. Unfortunately, you cannot play these two guys in the backfield at the same time. But best pure running group. Then Sims, I think, is like he's the poor man, sort of the poor man of the group just ahead of him, right? Definitely a notch below the Kelly, Everett, Elway group, but good. I mean, that's a nice little card right there.
Yep.
All 3 levels.
It's a solid quarterback.
And then if you want to go inside the 10, you might want to consider Hostetler inside the 10. Not going to throw a pick, and he'll run it in for you if you have to throw short. Not going to throw flat with him, obviously. And I like his long pass, actually, because that long pass, long gain on 7 can really catch people with their pants down if they're trying to prevent the must runs. But he's probably not going to be throwing too many deep balls. He's probably just going to come. If he comes in anywhere, he'll come in at the goal line if he sees value in the must runs when you have to throw short. And let's take a look at the must runs. Right? I mean, so even still, sort of 50-50 chance at the 5-yard line. So not as useful as maybe I portrayed him. You'd have to get a little bit closer to the goal line to really like that must run there. But Haas, let's take a look at the ratings here and compare these two head to head if we can. I think Haas, where is he here? Sims right there, who, as you can see, rated higher than a bunch of other guys who we consider better. Let's just tie these two and put these guys side by side. Fumbling, Sims is an 8.7 snap fumble. Hostetler's a 7.3. So not much difference there. Sims, yeah, I mean, you might see Hostetler at the goal line maybe for this reason. You're not going to run him linebacker too often. Guessed wrong. He's 29 fumble. That puts him up towards Hunter territory, right? Guessed right.
Yeah.
Us carrying the passing here. Yeah, Sims beats him on all the levels, even adjusted for must runs. All right. I love that pairing though. The pairing of Sims and Marion Butts. KC O-Line came in right in the middle of the run and snagged KC. Joe ends up as what we think is average good, which is not a bad spot to be in. So good pass, average run. Got the Atlanta wide receivers who have obviously Rison and company, and then adds Irving Fryer to that mix. New England special teams. Did not need to do much at the halfback position. Got a pass catcher in Gary Anderson. But I don't think Anderson is going to take much pressure. The problem Joe's going to have is double teams, because Bernstein I don't think is much of a catcher, despite being listed as tight end. Butts is not much of a catcher. So his receivers are going to face double teams. And there's Anderson. Yeah, Anderson might take some pressure off. Yeah, he might take some pressure off.
Well, guys, I got to run. I got to go to bed. But I hope I see the rest of this tomorrow morning.
Sounds good. Thanks, Willie.
Okay.
It's only 6:18 p.m. What do you mean?
Good night, Willie. Have a good night, man.
Thanks. Take care.
See you, Willie.
It's fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Willie.
You know, that's the best thing. One of the best things about living in Hawaii.
Is that at 6:18 p.m. when it's past midnight here? How about the weather, though? That's number one. And I don't know about, what is it, 8 a.m. NFL football? I'm not sold on that, but hey, that would be the major downside to me. But you do get your NFL day wrapped up by like 2 p.m. I guess that's an upside.
Yeah. You don't have those 8 o'clock night games either. That's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think, California's perfect. 10 a.m. start. Last game starts at 5. I can handle that.
No doubt. Somebody just joined. It's going in and out. Okay. Any other thoughts on Joe's team? I think it's a well constructed team. You got good passing, good running, and the Pittsburgh DBs. This should be a contending squad.
Yep. Good coaching too.
Yep. Brian put together the Miami O-line with Cunningham. We all understand why. If you're going to throw short and try to get those must runs, well, you'd like to have good blockers there. Could he have gotten Miami in the next round and avoided average poor D? That's what's projected anyway. That's the big question, right? I would guess he probably could have gotten him in the third. Maybe. I don't know. Tough one. So I can understand why you picked it, because I'm sort of, if you want him, you got to take him there. Right. If you want him.
Yep. You got to grab him when you can.
It's a coin flip whether you get him come back the other way. I love the Washington halfbacks there. I think it's one of the better value halfback picks. Taken 9th overall. Some of them above them, right? You compare it to Chicago, any of these like next group above, they're right in that same ballpark, Yep. And you get all the carries in the world out of Byner. I think he led the league in carries. It's a diverse set. I mean, it might be annoying because you have to sub a lot, but Byner's going to give you 297 carries. Not explosive at all, but solid. Solid as a rock. Doesn't fumble either, which is kind of rare for this set. Calvin Bryant, I think he just gives you a little bit of pop, but not. You had some bigger pop from Calvin Bryant in other years. But here you see his card. But going back to Byner for a second. Byner and Hampton, you're Hampton, Butch. I like that they can gain yards on 5. That's something that you don't see. You don't see in the modern set.
Not in the modern set at all. No.
Yep. Gerald Riggs, not a bad card either. All right. As far as pass catching, there's a decent pass catcher here somewhere. This is such a big group, man. Who caught the most Powell's receptions? Where are they? There they are. 31 for Byner, 26 for Bryant. So Bryant's card is pretty nice. Diverse group. Got to sort of shuffle them in and out, but a really nice value on that at that spot. Indianapolis wide receiver is a curious pick. They have the advantage of working with Jeff George, and that gives them some nice, surprising, deep ability. Jesse Hester can go deep, get yards. Billy Brooks can go deep, get yards. And then it comes with the little extra of the curious case of Charles Verdun, the punt returner, who, when you look at this punt return card at first blush, first pass, all of us were like, "Holy shit, this is a hell of a punt return card." But then you finally, on that third look, you notice that fumble's on 10. You're like, "Oh shit." Uh-oh. So it's speaking of risk and reward, Charles Verdun will break his heart a few times this year, fumbling on 10, but look at those yards. 19 on 5. 6 gets 28. Man, 11-20. Just a really nice yardage stocked punt return. The Raiders fullbacks. I got to say, I don't know much about the Raiders fullbacks. Let me see here. Oh, yeah, Steve Smith. He can do something, right? Yep, sure can. 81 carries. You don't see many cards like this in this set where you see 16 and 15 here. A really nice off tackle, 9, 16, 15. Really nice line buck. Similar, a little bit down, but Steve Smith can do a little damage. But you have so many runners already. Not sure of his fumble. Brian ended up, average poor. Yep. So that's the whole crux of it comes around whether that O-line there was worth getting the poor past. I think he probably was hoping for average and saw the DBs slip. Did he have a chance to get average right here? Would the Seattle DBs have given him an average pass D? Let's see, KC and Seattle. That is an interesting question. KC and Seattle, 4-3 combo. Seattle here. KC there. Yeah. So that's an interesting choice Brian made. So we talked all about how good of a value pick that was. Well, there was a price to pay for those Washington backs. It was a difference because Seattle was available. Could have gotten the average pass D. Thoughts on Brian? Let's move it to Michael. Mr. Stucci with Steve DeBerg ahead of Jim Everett. Had to raise some eyebrows. I'd love to talk to Michael about this one. We understand the advantages of Steve DeBerg. Goes without saying. And that is lack of interceptions, of course. Kind of famous for his lack of interceptions, I'd say, when he had his good years with KC. Awesome short pass wrong column. Just sort of dominating. And not a bad long pass column at all. But I think he fumbles. Let's take a look. I think he does. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. There's a zillion players here to try to remember. I'm pretty sure Steve DeBerg. Oh, I hit all these guys here. Let's unhide. Oh, 7. Okay. I mean, yeah, he fumbles, but not the end of the world. But he'll fumble a few times. Don't want to run him. Guessed wrong, 35 fumble. So stay away from the line bucks, Michael. But taking ahead of Everett.
Had to be the picks. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yep. Had to be. And for what it's worth, Marino had Everett too. We'll talk about John in a second. John, I don't know if John's still on with us, but that was an interesting pick too. I was looking at all of them, and from my spot, and Marino was in the group the whole time. DeBerg was not in the group. Marino was in
Same
the group.
here.
Yeah,
same here. Yep.
But Marino was the first to fall out because of his flat pass, just being so much lower than everybody else's. Came back with Phoenix linebackers, which, as I recall, can rush the passer really nicely. Michael ended up, we believe anyway, average, and gets that good pass rush to go along with it. Cincinnati O-Line, CNA O-Line was the 12th selected. Got him in the 5th round. Pitt D, and then the Buffalo fullback, so he gets McKellar and then Jamie Mueller. Mueller's okay. He'll get some spot carries for sure. McKellar can catch the flat pass really nicely. And he can stretch the field too a little bit. The Jets receivers brought him a returner along with Altoon and Rob Moore, Syracuse, and Pitt and Cincinnati to close it out. So I guess you could call it a safe offense. By definition, that's what you would think anyway when you see that DeBerg pick. And what are the fumbles for Brooks? Let's take a look at Brooks's fumbles. I'll tell you what, that's a real advantage in this set. Let's see. Yeah, 1.54% for Brooks. There's a lot of fumblers out there. There's a lot of guys who throw picks out there.
Yep.
So, Michael found a way to avoid both of those. And that gives them, I think, a distinct advantage. The games I've been playing sort of preseason with some guys, there's fumbles happening everywhere. They're all over the place. People, we all like to think, I don't like fumble guys. Butch, I know you don't like fumble guys either. It sort of comes with the territory in this set, but Michael found a way to avoid it. And I found that my fumble guys are fumbling. It's not like they're getting lucky and not fumbling. Mike Rozier's fumbling.
Yep. Yeah, but he had to sacrifice a little bit to get that too. I don't think DeBerg's going to scare anybody enough to keep in that safety home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that safety is going to be coming up and filling some of those flat zones too.
Any other thoughts on Michael?
Mm-mm.
Moving on to John. So Hall of Fame pairing here of Dan Marino and Barry Sanders, which sounds like a lot of fun. On its face anyway. Not the best Marino card, but not a bad one. It's a good one. Let's take a look. 8.9 for his long pass. Holes in the short pass, but still good column. The flat pass is where it sort of falls apart. Doesn't give you any running, of course. Never did. Wouldn't expect it. Not surprised. Had him ranked right in the mix here. Snap fumble of just 1.0. Beautiful. Pairing that with Barry, it's not a small ball team. It's going to be short pass, long pass, run with Barry. Paid a price in that it looks like John is poor pass. Ended up with the San Diego DBs, which were 17th, second to last taken. Let's go to Joyner here. Here's Michael. We just talked about your team. We just closed it out. Force us to go backwards. We'll do it. Let's go backwards. Walk us through your squad.
All right. I've been having some luck grabbing QBs and halfbacks the last two tournaments, so I decided to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted Randall Cunningham, and he didn't make it to me. So then I decided to go halfback group. I liked that halfback group a lot, and I wanted a lot of carries, and they do have more carries than the average. So that was kind of what I was thinking there. And then I was kind of very, very scared. I was going to end up with poor defense. So I went defense the rest of the way to shore up that, and then basically.
Don't skip over the DeBerg pick. That's what we want.
Oh, the DeBerg,
we want to hear DeBerg versus Everett. That's what we want to hear.
All right. So I really love the DeBerg wrong SP, wrong short pass. And a lot of other guys didn't have that nice of a wrong short pass. We played a stock league 1990, and DeBerg brought where they were 14-2. That team with that card. So in Kansas City, I mean, they have a good running game also, but I thought and the picks are so low. I really like the picks. I mean, I can throw it deep if I need to against a average or poor pass D and not have to worry about any picks. Even a good pass D, you can throw it deep as long as you don't hit the 7.
Speak to him relative to Everett. I mean, were you hemming and hawing there, or was it you knew?
No, I wanted DeBerg. Let me see what was the Everett picks. It was a little bit higher.
Oh yeah, Everett's picks are the worst in the group.
Oh yeah, forget it.
Meaning this little pod of QBs.
Oh yeah,
but they're not awful.
I don't want a 1 out of 36 pick there, short pass, right? And deep. Look at that. You got 1.5. 2 total picks there. I'll call that. Yeah, that. It's a little bit more than 2 picks. So, yeah, no, I don't want 2 picks. I mean, yeah, it's awesome having the long gain on 7 and the 8-29. But you know what? That's really not my game. I'm not Dennis over here throwing it deep, 85 times a year. I'm more in the 64 times a year. And yeah, so I can see Dennis taking Everett. That's for sure. But yeah, so that was kind of my main thinking. I really love the picks. I think he's good enough flat. I mean, I'm not thrilled with the flat, but I'm okay with it. But the short pass, I really like it. Another person that I looked at late was Rodney Peete. I couldn't believe how good his card was. We was looking for people to help Dennis with his QB group.
Yep.
And Rodney Peete was out there. But, I mean, I looked at Rodney Peete. He's got a 38% chance of throwing an incomplete on a short pass wrong.
Yeah.
And I said, that would frustrate me so bad. Get someone in short pass wrong situation and then, 3 out of 8 times throw an incomplete. I'd be going out of my mind if I had to deal with that. So,
if I knew I was getting Pete in the 6th, I could live with that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I was going to get Pete in the 6th.
Yeah, Pete was. I couldn't believe it when I saw that he made it. I made an error. I sorted that spreadsheet, the rating spreadsheet there, by QB, and he was so far down the list I didn't bother to look at. Well, it really doesn't take must runs into consideration, that spreadsheet. Correct. And that's why he was so down the list. Then I look, his must runs, I think there were 14, and they were 9 yards a run. And I went, oh my God, I couldn't believe. I got him for the second best short pass right card. And it's only 0.1 off Randall Cunningham. I think at 7.2 must short pass right. And someone else had 7.3. It's got to be Moon. Moon has 7.3. So when I couldn't believe Rodney Peete had 7.2. So he's going to be able to do some damage short pass right.
You're right. The wrong does bring him down a bit. I got him ranked as the 10th best short pass, right and wrong combined.
Right.
Is Pete. With DeBerg, you're number 3. Behind Moon and Randall.
I did some checking the last 2, I think maybe the last league that we played. I did have Mahomes. So I had a really good short pass right card. Mm-hmm. But 30% of my passes were short pass right, and 15% were short pass wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Of my plays, total plays. Mm-hmm. So I was in that column 45% of the time, mm-hmm. basically. So I kind of wanted a good column there. And then, like I said, then I went defense, and I was scared. I really wanted 3-4-D. I played 4-3 last in the last one, Battle Royal, and it really hampered me having the 4-4s. And I kind of got lucky. I didn't play anyone in the playoffs that had a really good flat passing card, but teams like Erie and Tyke, they really took me apart with 4-4-5 at linebacker.
Now, this isn't 2021 or 2020.
No.
This is 1990. You're not going to face the 3-4 advantage is diminished here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I still like the. I still prefer 3-4, and I wanted to get back to that. And then I was really happy with my linebacker pass rush group there. Heavy 12-12 pass rusher, which is great to have. And yeah, and then I just kind of pieced it together from there. I got a 9 free safety. Dennis and I were fighting over if we thought that was valuable or not. He says it was. I don't think it's as valuable as he thinks it is, but yeah. So I ended up getting average defense, and we'll deal with that. But I think I have one of the better offenses, and that's the part of the game that I need more help than anybody, because I'm a terrible offensive coach.
On that Phoenix linebacker group, I mean, there's pass rush everywhere, and I love their right inside linebacker getting a 9.
A 9, right?
Yeah, with no price to pay. Send them all day long.
Right.
Don't worry about Todd McNair. Don't worry about any of these halfbacks that can go deep. You can launch that 9.
And I'm a little nervous with my offensive line. I didn't really get a great offensive line either. Anthony Munoz, I have 6'5" on the left tackle, but other than that, I got a 0-2 at right tackle, and so it was just the best I could do at the time. And the way the rounds were going, it was the only thing I could really get, the best I could do. Yeah. But I could be in some trouble with some sacks. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of these, that is a good sort of, I think, universal problem you put your finger on there, which is not many flat passers out there.
Yeah.
And
if you're throwing short,
to protect your offensive line, to protect the offensive line, you need. It's nice to have that flat pass, and there's not much of that to offer in this set.
Yeah, same thing with the defensive line. There really wasn't much there. I grabbed Pittsburgh. I think they're 4-5-4. I like having the 5 at the nose tackle. Mm-hmm. They have a little pass rush, though. I was surprised. I think they got a 9 or an 11, or have to check that. Pittsburgh.
9 at nose.
7, 9, 6, and then it has a 7 off the bench, 0-7, that I can put in for the 4-6 to give me a little bit better. But that's actually not that bad of a pass rush, considering.
Nice.
In addition to the linebackers, that maybe I can bring some of them. And then I waited on the wide receiver, Anthony, because I did it last time, and it probably hurt me a little bit, but not too bad. But I ended up getting Terrence Mathis at punt return with that New York wide receiver group, and he's got a TD on 2.
Yep.
He's one of the 5 or 6 guys with a TD.
Yep.
And Al Toon's maxed out short, but he's not great going long, and Moore's not really great going long either. But I figure I'll be okay there. And then I just grabbed the best kicker I could, and the last special team, I needed a kickoff returner, and I got a crappy one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those wide receiver groups. I mean, obviously, I took the 18th group, so I guess by definition, you're going to hear me advocate that. I didn't see much problem with falling deep down in wide receiver in this set. I was going to be happy with the 18th, and it turns out that's probably wound up. And we were, the Jets were right in that mix too. I understand why you took them. I was eyeing that punt returner too. It's a nice little bonus for taking your wide receiver group in the 8th round.
Yeah, one thing that's funny is I've only won a couple leagues, and one of the leagues I won, I had that Buffalo Bills wide receiver Dubbernin or something in the 60s. Well, anyway, he had a long gain on 8 short pass right, and I hit it in the Super Bowl to win the game. And I said to myself, I know. I say, I don't need the wide receiver, and I'm like, the one league you freaking won, you idiot. You had to hit a long gain on an 8 short pass right to win it. And then I passed on Bob Hayes the next year in the draft, 1st round, like an idiot.
Well, I like your defensive DeBerg. That's a good solid defense. We weren't beating you up. We were sort of none of us would have done it. I think all of us here would have taken Everett.
Only time will tell.
But that does not. I mean, there are the one thing about you can have all the opinions in the world. You can have all the opinions in the world, but there are so many different ways to skin this cat in building your team here that it's opinions are.
Yeah, I'm more on the conservative side when it comes on the coachings. I don't like to turn the ball over if I can help it, and I don't like throwing as many bombs as Dennis, but it works. It works for Dennis.
When
he
you
can turn. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. When you go back and listen, I mean, it's exactly what you're going to hear us say is that you have a distinct advantage versus the rest of the league, and not everybody. There's a few others that are right there with you, but most everybody else has a fumbling problem, has an interception problem to deal with. You really don't have either of those to deal with. So
right,
that's really helpful.
Yeah,
all right.
I think I led the league in plus minus in the Battle Royal.
Your average pasty is not going to generate as many takeaways as you might want.
Right,
but
right.
You're going to be able to minimize the
I'll write down every time that 6 is rolled short pass, 3-man or 4-man, when I should have had a pick if I had good.
Well, moving on to John. We're just starting. We're talking about Marino. We're talking about Sanders, and Marino's lack of flat pass, and that's paired with the Pittsburgh offensive line. Let's take a look at Pitt. A little bit down a ways, 17 pass points. Not going to be throwing many flat passes. Has a problem at left tackle. So right ends are going to be an issue. Right ends, we mentioned earlier, that's where the pass rush is really centered. A lot of good linebackers too, obviously. But play to play, you got to worry about left ends in this set. And he's got a two pass block there. Left guard 3 pass block. Right guard 3 pass block. That means with those guards right there, those linebackers are going to be coming and taking advantage of those guards most likely. So, bit of an issue. The antidote, of course, is Barry Sanders. Miami wide receivers, not their best year, but another good year. Very similar words to what we said about Marino. Not his best year, but no major issue here. Get a pretty big group. Holy mackerel. Let's see who led him in catches. Oh, Duper led that year. Clayton with just 32. Maybe he got hurt. I know he had some injuries. Jensen, he pulled Jensen in, right? So and that's a really nice pickup to get that tight end with your wide receiver group. He's got a beautiful flat pass. And we see this often in this set. You see these tight ends are immune. Many tight ends anyway are immune, not all, to the negative on 3 and 11. Jensen's one of those. That's just a great flat pass right column right there. Maxed out, wrong. Really, really nice looking. Deep, really interesting. I don't know. Anybody seen this before? 17 max of 18 yards long pass on his long pass column? Because it must have been his long catch, but he can still go deep. Interesting.
Strange, yeah.
Yeah. And then San Diego DB's issue, second to last taken. So I don't recall us finishing. I think Tim had a good 100 picks ahead before he had to take his last DB. So this is the second to last DB taken in the 7th round, and Tim had a full 3.5 rounds before he had to take the final DB. San Diego, let's take a peek. 6 at left corner. Nice to have that. 4 at right, and the 3 and the zeros are back at safety. Not a bad place to have them. So, if you're going to have the second to last DB group, you probably want it structured this way. Not many tight ends can go deep, just a handful. And then the free safety can be busy doing other things, and he's certainly not going to be guarding anybody unless you choose for him to guard somebody. Miami, interesting, came back and took the Miami fullback. So he stole Jim Jensen from his own squad because he takes the Miami fullbacks and tight ends later and gets Tony Page, who gives him 6-7 blocking. That's going to help the pass blocking against those linebackers who are going to be working up against those guards. Well, when the asterisk comes up, Page will be there to deal with them. Not the best catcher, not the best runner. He'll be blocking. Logan has some carries, but not the most effective carries.
Does Logan return?
Logan does return. And he's
nothing great.
Yeah, below average returner. So John is at average, and we think it's poor pass D, so that might be problematic. And put some points, and Sanders can be let loose. It's bombs away with Marino and bombs away with Sanders. Any thoughts on John? Houston defensive line brings some pass rush. And Charles Haley does as well from San Fran linebackers. Worth mentioning that. So that's going to offset some of that poor problem that he has. Dennis took the KC defensive line. We talked about that extensively earlier on. Picked up the 6 nose tackle, really important in this set with all the inside running. Then came back with Jim Kelly ahead of Everett. I understand and agree with that, by the way. I like Kelly just a tad better. There's Kelly's card. Doesn't give you the 7 that
pick on 10.
Pick on 10, but lower picks when it's even though Everett's
lower.
Yeah, even though Everett's picks are on 11, his picks are lower overall.
Oh wow.
Which took me a while to figure that out. I thought it was an error in the ratings guide for a second. How dare I question the ratings guide? Which turned out to be correct, that Kelly's INTs, even though they're on 10 and very, very similar to Everett, are actually lower than Everett's. And some of that has to do with the long pass pick on 2 for Everett, guessed right, etc. Very similar flat pass column of Everett. Picks up this must-run, quote-unquote, completion, where he's going to get you a few yards and probably convert a few extra first downs because of that. So no problem with Kelly there. We were sort of in the midst of a mini QB run, and that pick made good sense to me. Where I thought we got to round 5, Dennis did not have a runner yet, and right there, he took the wide receiver group from the Raiders. Could have gotten Craig Hayward, but went with the receivers instead, and then came back with Brad Muster. And adds on to that the San Diego halfbacks that don't give you any running. So he's really forced to go with Muster as his main guy. Let's take a look at Muster. Good runner. 141 carries, so a little bit carry constrained. But he's best suited as a complement guy.
Yeah.
Not your lead guy. Excellent complement guy. Really, really good complement guy. Can catch as well. Good fullback, no doubt about it. But he's sort of left without a lead runner. That LA wide receiver pick could have gotten, if you went New Orleans there, could have gotten Miami, could have picked up Atlanta or Indy as his wide receiver group. Is Muster and the Raiders receivers better than Hayward and the Miami receivers?
I mean, I think he was kind of in a bind there. I mean, Dennis was talking to me about the halfback groups and that before that round came up. And we were looking at Dallas, and I think someone took New York Giants special teams. Butch took that, and that basically broke up the Giants running back group, I believe.
Correct.
And
correct.
so,
you're
yeah.
right. You're so right. It's more than Hayward. It was really, in my mind anyway, it was the Giants and Hayward. Those were the two really solid running crews out there, and Emmett being sort of more of a middle guy, less pop. But he could have had Giants or the Saints at that point.
Yeah.
Meggett has a high fumble rating, so I kind of don't even count him. It's more Hampton and who was the other guy?
O.J.?
O.J. Anderson. O.J. Anderson, which obviously he's a grinder. He's a bull.
Yeah.
But
the Giants have their flaws. The Giants,
he was definitely in a bind. Probably at that spot, he didn't maybe see as much value. That's maybe why he didn't take a running back. I played Dennis a lot, and he does prefer to run the ball over throwing the ball. So I'm a little surprised.
I mean, we'll talk more about the Giants runners with Butch in a second, but the OJ piece, which Butch did not take because he already had his halfback group with Bobby Humphrey. The Giants are a little bit perplexing because you sort of have to get over this annoying factor that OJ has 250 carries and he's a grinder, not going to give you any pop at all, but he'll give you good guess right running. And Hampton being the better runner, he's down under 150. So, but even still, at that point, you want Hampton there in his 150 carries. That's a nice card. Yeah, OJ is going to be sort of relegated to you have to, because of his carries, you have to bring him in at second and short. You're not just saving him for third and short. You bring him in second and short as well because you got to eat up those carries somewhere, and that's where they're going to go. And he'll get you that first down, second and short, and of course he'll do it short yardage too. You're right about Meggett's fumble, but he does have a purpose, right? I mean, he not only can he punt return, but he can do that. He can catch really well, as we all know. So it's a nice group when it's all said and done, and they were there for the taking. Dennis ends up good run, average pass, so pretty good spot there. Gonna have to find a way to take pressure off Kelly. Gonna have to find a way, and so Brad Muster's gonna have to have a hell of a year. Defense is gonna do its job. So that 6 nose tackle, one of the few out there, if not the only. This is one or two, right? Great defensive line, brings pass rush. With Miami, so solid D there from the run perspective. And Cincinnati's a good group too. As for DBs, they were among the lesser good groups, but they're a good group. 4-0-6-5. So you only have that 0, and some may say, well, that 6 is wasted at strong safety. It's not wasted, but that's what you're going to get at this stage. But it's 18 points, and you get a nickel back. So it's a pretty solid group for that round. Thoughts on Dennis?
So since we were talking about knowing people, I actually met Brad Muster when he was like on Pop Warner football.
Oh, cool.
He was like doing crazy things then. I went to high school with his brother in the same grade, and then his dad was a football coach at a town not too far away.
Very
like
cool.
A really nice family.
He had a good career.
Yeah, that's cool. He went to Stanford, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty brainy kids too,
That's a cool story.
Yep.
And with the halfbacks of the Jets we talked about, came back with his DBs and linebackers, give him good pass D. So that worked out. Was able to get at the front end of the offensive line avalanche and took the run-heavy New York Giants, if I recall correctly, offensive line. I believe they're very run-heavy, which is not a bad thing. Yep, 26, which is tied for number 1 in the league in run points. Still has a decent left tackle. Love having the 6 at center because that damn 7 on Linebuck destroys us all, and he'll be able to do that nicely. What runner does he have to do that with? He has to do that with the Jets guys. They're more finesse guys, but you pair that with the strength of the Giants O-line. That's a pretty nice pairing because you're sort of concerned about the guess right running of the Jets. They'll get you guess wrong running all day, but the Giants are going to get some of those guess right yards back for sure. San Francisco, obviously one of the strongest out there, brings you a great returner in Taylor, and a good receiver in Taylor, and then, of course, Hall of Famer, Jerry Rice. Then most interesting pick is Atlanta. Let's take a look at the Atlanta quarterback. Chris Miller. Throws at all three levels decently.
Yeah, Chris Miller was a very underrated quarterback in his day. You know, no one ever talked about him, but he was pretty decent. The picks were a little high on here, but they are what they are, you know, at this point in the draft.
Yeah, all three levels, and he's going to throw some picks. He's going to throw some picks, but he can throw at all three levels. That's nice. 5'9". Oh, is it 5? Yeah, 5'9" for his long pass, right where you want it to be. So for a 7th round selection, that's a pretty good spot that the picks will frustrate. Could get a good amount of guess wrong opportunities though, because if you let these Jets guys go guess wrong, you're going to pay a price. Let's just go back and revisit them real fast to hammer that point home. There you go. Blair Thomas will do some damage.
Yeah, those are nice cards, moving the chains.
Yep. Freeman will do damage guessed wrong. So Miller's picks, the idea here anyway, is that Miller's picks will be neutralized when he's facing a good amount of guessed run from those Jets halfbacks. Your guessed wrong long pass is still a little bit problematic out there, 2 through 6, but cleans up nicely and short pass wrong for sure. Interesting. Short pass wrong interception is lower than the flat pass wrong interception. Huh.
Yeah, you don't see that often.
Yeah.
No.
I think his flat pass is very underrated. I think he only had 9 incompletes on 9 incompletes. That's going to be pretty good. And only 3 incompletes wrong.
That's right in the mix with the Everett Kelly group, you know.
Is it?
Yep, which is good. I mean, he got him in the 7th round in terms of flat pass completions. He's right there. Incompletions on 4 and 10. You know, Elway's a notch up because Elway has the completion on 10. You know, but he's right there in that mix. So yeah, get him guessed wrong, Ken, and you probably will. You can do some damage with Miller.
Yeah, that's when that group got drafted. That's when I decided just to wait for my quarterback pick.
Which group? The
Atlanta group,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not just Miller. The other guy can throw too, pretty good. I can't remember who it is. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But
yep, Millen.
Is it you? Yeah, Millen. Is it him? Well, maybe not.
And
maybe Campbell.
I don't think Campbell.
No, I think it was Millen. I think I was thinking I was just confused. It happens when you get old. Yeah, but Miller's got a good card, and like I said, once he went, I decided, the rest of them are all in the same boat, so I'll just wait and see what I get.
Any other thoughts on Ken? The final 3, taking up the end. Butch, Dennis, and Anthony. Butch, lead us off here.
Oh, you know me. I wanted some pass rush, and I can't even remember off the top of my head how many pass rush points I got now with the Raiders and the Colts front 7, but it's quite a bit. So 30 to 40 something, I can't remember. But
there's
again,
he's 4-3,
right?
Yeah, 4-3. Yeah, 4-3. I got to go 4-3, unfortunately.
And you got 11 from your right tackle.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great group. You're going to have a lot of sacks.
Yeah, and then like I said, the Indy linebackers team well with that group. I think they're 10-9-10 pass rush across the board.
Wow.
With a 6.55 or a 6.56. I can't remember what they are. Like I said, it might have helped me that Dennis had the guy listed wrong on his sheet. The 110 he had listed as a 1. But yeah, I like the front. I mean, I sacrificed the DBs obviously to get that pass rush, but we'll see how it goes. And of course, I'm playing Vinny Testaverde at quarterback still too, so I'm gonna need some pass rush to get the ball back probably.
Vinny, who learned how to run this year really well.
Yeah.
Somehow. Look at that.
I don't think I'll be running him a lot in the end run though.
Right, but that must run is a nice little
column.
Bad.
It's not bad.
Beautiful column, must run. Gonna have to deal with Vinny's picks.
Yep. His flat is usable. I looked at that. Short pass guessed wrong is going to be okay. I like the long gain on an 8. So, in hindsight, Jeff George may have been a better pick. So, I don't know.
Let's take a quick look at Jeff George, who was not taken. Oh, you did better. I mean, you don't want that pick on 4. Oh,
that's what led me against him. I do like the short pass guessed right, 6 and 7, but and his long gain and a long pass, 7 and 8, I think. But that 4 scared me away. So
scare most of us away. I gotta agree with you.
Hopefully, I can get a running game, get some running going to make it a little easier for Vinny to pass.
So the Humphrey pick.
That was I don't want to talk about the Humphrey pick. That was my senior stupid moment. I don't know why I took the guy. I really don't. I'll be honest with you. He's got it's not a horrible card, but he's got carries. He's got that 8 straight or 7 straight across.
Yeah, that's 7 straight across. That's gonna be good.
But other than that, if he's guessed right, I mean, I was looking at the spreadsheet and not the numbers, or not the card, and it showed he was better guessed right than his card is. So that's why I spent the rest of the draft making up for it in my drafting my returners and all those folks. So
yeah, this sheet is gonna inflate those numbers because of the 6 chances of quote unquote 15 yards. The short gains. Yep. So it's hit or miss, guessed right.
That's pretty much it.
Well, more miss than hit, but yep. But when you hit, you hit. But when you need 2 yards, you're not looking for 15. You're looking for
and he's not a great receiver either. But I did make up for that with my other guys as well.
And then you grab the New Orleans O-line,
right?
And that pick, all of us sort of had to make some decisions there about which O-line. Were you going back and forth at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, Dennis and I were talking during the draft because he took, I can't remember what line he took, but that's who I wanted. And we kept swiping each other's picks throughout the draft because I know he wanted the New York returners as well. But it was the best one. It was the most balanced line left, and that's what I was kind of looking at because what are they, like 23, 26?
Yep.
So I'll take that where I drafted.
Got the Jets DBs, Cleveland wide receivers are a good group. Yeah, I mean, you can get good groups down there in round 7 for wide receivers. You certainly could, and you got one there.
Yeah, and that pulled Metcalf in too. So Metcalf is listed as a split end and a returner. So
you picked up the extra runner.
Yeah, he's a running back too. So actually, I have a ton of running backs. I just got to make them work. I doubt if Humphreys will even start. How's that sound? I'm probably going to go with Hampton.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then I picked up Brad Baxter to go with him.
Right.
I wanted Hayward, but somebody took him before me. I don't know who that is, but somebody took him right before my pick.
So I was sitting in the dentist chair at the end of round 5, and San Francisco wide receivers went. And then it felt like you went into a mad scramble at that point to figure out what to go with.
Yep, that's because I wanted those receivers.
It took you longer than usual for your pick. Figured that. What led you to the Giants there? Because you were probably looking at everything at that point, right? You were looking at every angle. I
was. If you look at Hampton and Meggett, they can both catch really well. That's going to help me a little bit because I don't know if Vinny's going to get a lot of guessed wrongs with my running backs. Unless people really research and look at them, they might not. But Hampton, I think Hampton, Meggett, and Metcalf can all go deep, and they're all decent. And even though Metcalf had a horrible yards per carry, I think he's got a 15 on a 7, something like that. So he's got to keep people honest a little bit.
And Baxter's very effective there.
Yeah, I like Brad Baxter.
Yep.
He was my number 2 behind Hayward.
Yep. On a standalone basis, Baxter and Hector were a pretty good running group stacked up against with the halfbacks too. If you were to get them together, but just getting Baxter alone, you get the better one.
Yeah.
But Baxter, I think Baxter's going to play a pretty important role for you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna have to rely on the pass rush and hopefully get a lot of 10-7 games. I'm hoping. We'll see how it goes. Because Vinny's got a lot of fumbles as well as picks, so he's going to be giving the ball to the wrong team all day. So,
any other thoughts on Butch?
Yeah, he sucks.
Dennis went Chicago DBs to start. Tell me he was hemming and hawing between Chicago and Minnie. I think we both got who we wanted, which was good for both of us. Then he came back with Philadelphia defensive line, which is just the poor man's KC line, and nothing wrong with them at all. Yep. You get the downgrade at the nose tackle, but you're getting a little better ends, and you're not getting as much pass rush, but you're going 6.55, so nothing to sneeze at there at all. San Francisco fullback seemed to be coveted by many. I just wasn't that impressed with not only Jones's card is good, but just compared to so many of the receivers out there. Yeah. It's like, well, okay, and that wasn't going to stretch for him. And Rathman's good. He's sort of in that good running group, but he's nothing nothing earth shattering. I mean, he's no Brad Baxter, right?
Yeah. How's he receiving?
Good.
Oh, yeah.
But not great. I mean, see this negative one here? That annoys the shit out of you.
Is he 6'7" also?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason that they went here, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I always loved Harry Sidney.
I think Keith Henderson. Yeah, not much there. Then apparently he was hem and haw between the Rams and the Rams O-line and San Fran fullbacks. And I wasn't planning on taking the San Fran fullback, so just the flip of the coin went the other way. I grabbed the Rams O-line. He came right back with Buffalo, and the Rams and the Bills pick started the O-line avalanche. Then following, so here we were in the fifth, very interesting part of the draft. Coming back to that again, all starting with Dennis's Raiders pick. At that point, Dennis probably thought he had the Giants in the bag for halfbacks, and Butch said not so fast and grabbed the Giants special teams on him. Butch, we talked about more. It felt like a defensive pick from my perspective, that you were trying to keep Dennis away from the Giants halfbacks. Maybe you don't have to admit it if it was true, but
no, it actually never crossed my. It never crossed my mind. I was trying to offset the stupid Bobby Humphrey pick. That's what I was being defensive on. So yeah, and I think Meggett has a TD on kickoff or punt return, one of those.
Yep.
So
he does.
Actually, getting Meggett and Metcalf, I have a TD on both sides of the special teams. I think they're both twos, but that is what it is.
As a result, Dennis gets Emmett, and obviously this is when Emmett first came on the scene. As his rookie year is not this year. This is his second year, I think. And is that 48? That was Thanksgiving, right, against the Redskins. That end run there, but not much pop in this card. But short gains across the board on 4. Solid. I mean, just a solid card. He can be a lead back, but he's definitely one of the lesser lead backs out there.
Hey guys, I got to drop. My wife needs me. I've been here all this time, and now I got to drop before we get to you, Anthony. I apologize.
No worries. No worries.
Y'all have good nights. We'll talk to you soon.
Night, Butch.
Take care, Butch.
See you, Butch.
So,
I have to go down to Anthony. No, not really.
So Emmett's Emmett's a capable back, and Dennis has a way of making backs better than they might appear on the card. Gonna have to do that here.
I can't wait to see how this works out. I mean, he's not going to scare anyone. I got to see how Dennis plays this up. and how he works with this. This is going to be a tough spot for him. I can't remember a running back of this ilk. Normally he's got really good running backs, so we'll have to see how this goes, and couple that with the quarterback, how late he picked one also. Although I like it, but we'll have to see. Dennis, he's Belichick. He cannot be questioned. At the end of the day, he wins.
Yeah, and I think the end run wrong might be the pathway to it, right? If he's getting guessed wrong a lot, he's going to get 5-yard chunks all day out here.
Right.
It's so great to beat Dennis, though, isn't it? I mean, the evil empire, really.
I'm still waiting. I told Dennis the whole goal of the league this year is that he doesn't win. That's it.
I'm down with that.
Johnston comes into this group as a running back, but he doesn't bring the 6-run block that you'd want him to bring. He gets that from Rathman, though, in the previous pick.
Yeah. Does he get Dixon? Did he get the other halfback there?
Yeah, I think he gets them all. Yeah, Dixon has a return touchdown.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some deep ability. Then Rodney Peete, thought that was great value there. I think it's one of the better picks of the draft. Not as good as the Washington pick in 9, but yeah, I had Harbaugh and Peete. So they're very different, but I'm very close to each other. And the fact that 6 and 7 able to pick those up is just a really, really good value. I was thinking that a lot of these guys down here would be stuck with high A&T guys, but that's not Peete. Pete's not gonna throw picks, not gonna fumble. So that's good for getting somebody so late. Great must run, great adjusted short pass column. Let's take a look at the card. Must runs very strong. Drops down from 11 to 6, from 6 to 7. But,
yeah, it's a 9. It's a 9 average and 42%, 11 or more.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's quite a good card, and his picks are really low, a little thin in the flat, right?
Yes.
But Dennis did something that was really that you don't see happen very often. He took a cornerback group, he took a defensive line group, and he was able to not pick a linebacker group till round 8, and still secure good because he was in the fourth 3.
Yeah, because the big thing is, remember there was a miscount on the Philadelphia card, and so he actually had one higher point than the initial spreadsheet showed, and so that extra point gave him the flexibility to attract any linebacker group for that, and he already had a good enough DB with Chicago.
Right. That does not happen very often.
Yeah, if he didn't have that extra point, which I don't think was realized at first, if he didn't have that, then he wouldn't have been able to wait that long. It was like a nice bonus, that extra point that Philadelphia had.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, correctly, I meant 10th round where he got the Houston linebackers to round it out. But yeah, so he really felt like he was picking ahead of the curve because he had the 2 defensive and he could pick pretty much what he wanted at other positions. And I think in 4 position groups, he's got his top 3 due to that.
Solid D. Let's just take a look at the Chicago DBs real fast, too, while we're here. Chicago was 5'4", 5'6". Okay. So 4 at right corner. It's going to nag a little bit. He is Emmett. Can he get production out of Emmett?
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's going to probably be the key for him.
Yep. Produce, going to get some running out of Rathman too, complimenting. But it really, really comes down to Emmett.
And he'll be throwing deep a lot.
Yeah, because there's no risk with the card of throwing long. And plus it's
Right.
35.5% or something, I think, for guess wrong for Peete. But
is that high?
That was for guess wrong, I think it was 355 for Peete. But I mean, nobody's going to really be worrying about Emmitt Smith running wild, so there's still going to be a lot more passes called on him, I think.
Any other thoughts on Dennis? Picking 18th. I like 18. 18's a good spot.
Have you ever had 18th before?
No, I like it though. I'll take it every time. Talked about, I've been criticizing my Elway pick all night long, and that still holds. If I knew I could get Rodney Peete later, or Jim Harbaugh later, or the Washington QBs in the 9th round, that would be the way to go, and end up good. Instead, Elway, I mean, obviously an upgrade versus those guys, and he brings just a nice balanced card. Good, better than Everett and Kelly in the flats. Picks up additional completions on short pass because of his must runs, which are not fantastic, but it's going to convert some extra first downs for sure. Low INTs, obviously, and long pass 5.9 with those must runs mixed in is just a solid quarterback. I mean, not spectacular, but pretty much solid as they come. Minnesota DBs wanted them because of the 0 free safety. Gets 6.5 at cornerback and also a 6 strong safety. So all those points are going to coverage. So 6.560. At that point, pretty much knew that I'd be targeting New Orleans special teams to add the 4 free safety in. And so just continuing along that rift, when you get New Orleans special teams, I mean, that 4 free safety, very helpful. And it also opened up the possibility of getting the Washington linebackers, which I liked because they're 5.05. Typically, you don't want a 0 at middle linebacker, but I wanted even more coverage points. And with the 4 free safety, I'll be playing more 4.25 than I ever have in my entire strat career to be able to prevent linebacker containment by moving up the 4 free safety into the middle linebacker zone. The other bonus with New Orleans special teams was getting Fennerty as a halfback. I waited for a very long time for halfbacks and runners. Was shocked and pleased to get Hayward in round 5. So Hayward's card, it's the ratings guides can be deceiving because all you need is a column. All you need is one column. If you have a column, then you can do a lot of damage. And his off tackle wrong is a monster column for a late pick. You could just do a ton of damage there. It's one of those columns like, oh, thank goodness he didn't get the 47 or didn't get the long gain or he didn't get one of his short gains, but he wound up with 7 yards. So shit, that's not good. You think you escape damage with Hayward, but he's getting 7 or 6 yards when he's not getting the big stuff. He comes with only 14 carries though, so we're trying to save him for the second half, and therefore came back to get the Atlanta halfbacks to get carries earlier on. There's some fumble problems with Rozier, but it's a nice card. Nice off tackle wrong column, which is a little bit chunky. Linebuck wrong is a lot less chunky and get you more of those 5 to 10 yard varieties, plus those short gains on 9 and 10. Can run at all 3 levels, which is nice too. And when you pair that up, Rozier and Hayward and Fennerty too. We should look at Fennerty, who is that bonus pick with that came with the New Orleans guys. He has a nice looking end run wrong column, 60 yards, bunch of short gains, 0 annoys you, but otherwise a nice looking end run wrong column and a nice flat pass right column. Not great, but nice. And all those guys are getting boosted by the Rams offensive line. So all of that takes a lot of pressure off of Elway, who can then throw a bit more unfettered. So there should be, even though the backs were taken later, there's enough pop, especially with Hayward, to get run calls. And in the mocks that I've been playing so far, I've been getting a lot of run calls. For sure, especially when Hayward has carries in the second half. So that's the idea. Question is whether Elway can really take advantage of it. I mean, he's solid, right? But is he spectacular enough? No, he's not to consistently make people pay, but not a bad card. Right? You get the flat pass wrong, right where you want it to be. Short pass wrong, a little bit frustrating, but all these guys in that group are Kelly, Everett, Elway, and long pass is good, not great, good. So back to D, it's pass rush coming from Michael Dean Perry on the Cleveland defensive line up the middle, 12-star. And then a couple pass rushers for Washington. But for the most part, this defense is built around coverage. The coverage guys are 6, 6, 5, 5, 5. When you include the linebackers. And there's a lot of good pass catching halfbacks and fullbacks in this set. So to be able to move that free safety around anywhere, knowing there's 6 and there's 5s to cover everybody, is a nice to have for sure. Waited forever on wide receivers. I just made the projection that I could live with the 18th wide receiver group, and was sort of targeted. Figured I'd end up with Seattle or Phoenix. Would be either one of those. Ended up with Seattle, and gives you Chadwick. There you go. Fine, right? Not great, but fine. And then Tommy Kane, Syracuse guy as well. Fine. Nothing great, but fine. And then Brian Blades as really the third guy is really strong, short and flat, which sort of plays into Elway a bit. I mean, Elway's main advantage versus the other guys is that completion on 10 flat pass right that Kelly and Everett don't have. So there's a bit more of a flat pass game to play with on the squad as a result, and got to take advantage of that and keep those linebackers back. Not that there's bad pass blocking. Oh, by the way, Hayward is also a 6'7" blocker. Okay. I mean, he comes with all sorts of nice little bonuses. That 7 pass block plus the Rams pass block is good, but mix in the flat pass. Hopefully it keeps defenses honest and have to think about the run, have to think about the flat, and then also have to think about Elway's not spectacular but above average short and long ability. So that was the thought there. Any questions on my squad?
Yeah, Elway, I noticed he's got one of the better flat passing cards, even right. I think he had the second highest average. There's a bunch of guys tied at 4.2 yards per flat right, and he is one of them.
Yep, and it's not that it's not
it's
that it leagues ahead of the rest. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's only got 8 misses. That helps. That's going to be one of the top ones. But yeah, you got eight long pass opportunities there with the 5 and the 9. That's good. And it's a pretty good card. Picks a low. Other than the long pass right, other than that, it looks good. Yeah,
it's solid. It's solid.
You can win with that card.
Yeah,
I like the New Orleans pick when you got him too. You got him just at the right time because I almost took him after not getting the Tampa linebackers in the third and then taking the Indy running. The other consideration was the New Orleans offensive line, but there hadn't been a run on him, so I thought I would still get like a good spot. And then you took them right and started the whole run, but they're like such a valuable offensive line.
Yes, it's a pretty nice bonus to have that group. Tell you what, and that's the same is going to be true. I think all of us at the beginning of that run there, and that's another way Dennis is going to be able to finagle Emmett. By the way, right, is the strength of that Buffalo line. there's a lot of value, I thought, in that set of picks there. These first 4 that were taken in this group. Of course, you had Miami as the outlier in the second round, but I thought there was good value in the Rams, Buffalo, Saints, Giants, offensive lines at that point. In KC, I think Joe got even more value back here in the middle of the round, because that's also, they're kind of right in the cusp of that group too. Gives you a pretty good advantage. Yeah, it is a pretty comfortable feeling having Hayward back there, 6-7 plus the Rams. It's a spot that just a handful of teams are in. You're still going to give up sacks, though. Nobody's infallible. All these 12-12s out there, you're going to give up some. But
it was crazy though. You had 7 offensive lines got taken between my last pick and that, in the third round. It was just a crazy, crazy run.
Yeah, Larry, I missed it too. I had to take the San Francisco DB group to get average pass defense. And so I was looking at that at the Kansas City O-Line also, but I couldn't chance it. And I think 3 DB groups got picked in the 5th round coming back to me. So I don't think I would have made it. I would have ended up with poor pass D. So
you can't. You're not going to win with poor. There's no chance of winning the championship with poor pass D.
Right. Yeah. So I had to take the Cincinnati. I knew it was kind of too late, but I jumped on the Cincinnati O-Line in the next round coming back, which was too late. Then John was pinging me as I made the pick. He's like, "God damn, I need an O-Line too." Because John, he also buckled and took Pittsburgh.
These drafts are like so insane and fun though, because it's like constantly, you don't necessarily know if someone's going to make it to you or not. Or even Bryant, he was, if I hadn't taken the 49ers defensive line, there was a defensive line was taken right beyond me, then it would have gone to him he would have an excellent run defense. So he was close there. It's just like the timing of where you're at and what's available, and then you think you can get something, but then there's a run of 7 offensive lines or whatever. It's just kind of fascinating, so fun, this draft of like these different calculated risks you're taking, and you're benefiting in some way and losing in another way by all your picks.
Yeah, and the nice thing is it's never the same. It's like no draft is the same. You know what I mean? A bunch of quarterbacks go early, or 1978, one quarterback goes in the first round. And it changes everything, turns everything upside down. And I think it was 78 also that basically there were 7 good pass defenses. And once that went, everyone was average pass D from there. And there was a run on offense. That might have been 2020. There was a run on offense the second round because no one could get anything better than average pass D from that point on.
You mentioned.
That's like.
Okay, Lawrence.
I was just going to say, the card set. Besides people learning from one draft to another or feeling snake bitten from the previous draft, and they're trying to compensate for it and not let something happen again. But then you have, again, the card sets can be so different, especially like this one compared to a current year one, where the strengths and what's available is different, and where you need to strategize is different.
It's interesting too. Even now, I mean, there's different after the fact. We're looking back, and Michael's saying, "Oh, I wish Philadelphia was there, and he would have taken him." And I'm saying almost the opposite, Michael. Right, where I'm like regretting my QB pick early, because you could get a decent one much later than I thought you could coming in.
Right.
That we still have diverging opinions even now. Is interesting. I didn't expect, honestly. A Moon stood out. Everybody else, it's like I'm not in love. I like Young. I like Cunningham. I like Elway. I like Everett. I like Kelly. I like all those guys. But after Moon, I couldn't justify right now taking any quarterback past the first round.
Yeah, you're right. Moon did stick out for sure.
Yep.
Over everyone else.
But after that, there's some pretty severe downsides to everybody. especially when you compare them with number 12 or whatever. Sure, good, Lawrence.
Yeah. It's painful to somebody takes Moon and then you're like the next pick and you take Kelly or something like that. Just such a big drop off that's hard to swallow from one pick to the next when there's other high value things out there.
What I really liked about this set was the amount of running fullbacks. I thought that made it very interesting.
Yeah, that was unique, where you could get a running group out of the fullback group.
Yep. And you could piece together a running game.
Right.
You didn't have to get a bell cow back to make your running game effective and actually draw run calls. And you had to dig deep, and you had to weigh it up against the tight end you were getting too, and then pair that off with your wide receivers to make it all sort of fit. I thought that was a nice little aspect.
I'm very interested to see how those fullback teams. The Joe Golden took San Diego fullback second round. You got the Philly fullback. Willie took the Philly fullback second round, and then the other high pick was Kansas City fullback third round by Greg. I'm very interested to see how those teams end up. Obviously, with them picking. Oh, actually, Willie took Buffalo halfback, then Philly fullback. Wow, I just noticed that. So he really doubled up right away at the running back position. Keith Jackson, he got one of the better tight ends in there also, obviously. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how those teams end up who grabbed the fullbacks instead of the halfbacks. I see Joe Golden took halfback in the 10th round, of course, because he was all set with Butts and Bernstein.
I mean, you had to look at the San Diego fullback group as a halfback group. I mean, that's how I viewed them.
Right.
Same thing with KC. It got a little bit blurry with Cincinnati. And then Philly, a little less blurry, not quite the running level that Cincinnati has, but in the Cincinnati. Oh, by the way, you also get Holman, right? Who's a top tight end. But that's kind of what made it interesting, right? Because these fullback groups. I mean, how often do we refer to them as the fullback groups? Number one, I mean, typically we're talking tight ends, right? We're just using the word fullbacks because the fullbacks dominated. So they sort of these they sort of morph. They sort of morph in your rankings. Oh, okay, I'll put them over here with the running backs because I got to look at Marion Butts this way. But oh, by the way, that means I can't get the tight end that I'm looking for. So it made for a very interesting dynamic. They went on average 5.7. You see down here, there's the average draft position. 5.7 for fullback tight ends. We don't have historicals here. I'd be really curious to know, where that number turned out. But how about this though, right? Versus halfbacks. Halfbacks 4.6. That's probably a tighter spread than ever. Typically, I imagine you'd see halfbacks have a couple rounds on average ahead of fullbacks.
That's kind of why I took Indy early for the halfback group, because I felt like I had so many more options at fullback, especially since I got one of the better tight ends with the LA receivers, because he was also a split end and a tight end. So I just had that flexibility, but I really wanted Hayward when you got him, and I was going to go Hayward and Muster and all that, and then was happy at least to get John L. Williams. But again, you hit that fullback spot just at the right spot, just as you did with the offensive line.
Yeah. Well, I think from that pick for Hayward, I think was pretty lucky. That's one of those that just fell the way that it probably shouldn't have. I should have been shut out of. I was hoping for the Giants or the Saints to fall, and I was looking at it. I figured I was screwed. I really did, because you had Dennis needed a runner, Dennis Leong needed a runner, Dennis Crowley needed a runner, and I thought Butch would come back with fullback to complement Humphrey. So I thought there was a good chance that even after Dennis passed on the runners, that Butch was going to take, instead of the Giants special teams, he's going to take the New Orleans fullbacks. And then Dennis was going to take the Giants halfbacks. And then what would I have been left with at that point? right? With no backs at that point, who's left out there? Kind of a tough spot, but yeah, got lucky. And I probably would have had to take the Atlanta halfbacks. I mean, to me, out of those that were left, that was the only crew that had some pop. Everybody else were good compliments, you know? I mean, Herschel, right here, Tim took him as a compliment to the Cincinnati fullbacks. Great. Herschel's great as a compliment to the Cincinnati fullbacks. I think it's an excellent pick when you need carries and you're sort of running low on those two guys because they are min carry guys. You can go to Herschel and you can get your 3-4 yards, cloud of dust, and be okay. But if you would have been anybody's lead, rough spot. Yeah. All right. We can finish it up. We want to I guess this has been a long one for us. If I were to say best pick overall, it's got to be Lawrence's Washington quarterbacks. I've mentioned that before. I think that's a great pick down there in round 9. Honorable mentions going to Rodney Peete and Jim Harbaugh, where they got him. Thought those were those late round quarterbacks compared to other people. I mean, average draft position for quarterbacks 4.4, right, which is the third highest rank of third, and there were good ones taken much later than that. So those guys got a deal as far as I was concerned. Thoughts on best picks?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you got him there. I think Moon at 3 was a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
I actually probably would have taken him first overall, but yeah.
I wouldn't have taken him first, but I would take him third. If Pitt and KC went 1-2, which is who I would have taken 1-2, then you have to go with Moon. As far as I'm concerned, it's a little too early for the linebackers at that point because you're not really going to be locked into good pass D with either of those linebackers. You have no guarantee the DBs are going to come back to you, 25 picks later. So you go with Moon there. Bob, in the position he was in, though, Michael, right, with the DBs not taken, even though I think Moon is the third guy off the board on my draft sheet. At that point, with the DBs not taken, I'm going DBs. Me.
Yeah, you taking KC DB?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Golden took DBs first. I know it's a different season. The 2020, with the first pick, he took the Rams DBs, 21 points.
Yep.
And Joe, I think he regretted it all year.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a different year.
Yep.
So you don't know.
True. And by the way, honorable mention, best pick for Joe Golden with the Pitt DBs where he got him. Right? I mean, Lawrence's pick at 7 is great too, but when you get him at 10, it's even better. 3 picks better.
Yeah, Joe ended up getting the good pass rating too with them, obviously.
Yep.
It was automatic.
Plus, you got Rod Woodson.
Yeah, Rod Woodson too. Yeah,
and an extra 4 DB.
Right.
So. Yeah. All right then. I guess we will wrap it up. Any other comments, guys?
No, thanks for all the charts picking up. That it really is a huge enhancement of the draft. Really, and a help for everybody. But it just really was awesome, all the time you put into that, and also with you and Dennis of getting everything organized for the league with all the spreadsheets and everything else. So much labor to do all that.
I didn't know I was doing it. I all of a sudden I was doing it.
You got an email.
And I got it done in 2 hours. I'm like, guys, please, somebody proofread this because I can't even see at this point. Doing them so fast, And that's the last I saw of them. I don't know if anybody even had a chance. If I end up doing them next time, I got to do them over a 2-day period so I can go to bed, wake up, and then look at them with a fresh set of eyes. Because you're gonna miss a lot if you do it in a 1 or 2 hour shot.
It's extremely low error rate though for the amount of numbers and things you're maneuvering with. It's really impressive to do that quality in that short of time. Even if you had more time, though, the quality was really good. So it's just you're gonna have little things missed somewhere.
Right.
There's no way around it, really.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Great job, Anthony.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And we will see you all hopefully soon with games. I guess we got to get our defenses in and all that, but then hopefully within a couple of days here, we'll be ready to go. The draft's not even over yet, right? So we got to get that done first. I think there's 2 or 3 picks left. So. All right, fellas. Have a great night.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye now.
Good night.